tonight, and I look forward to continuing our campaign and our debates about how to leave this country better off for the next generation, because that is the work of my life. That is why I started my career fighting for abused and neglected children, children who had drawn the short straw in life, because this nation gave me every opportunity, and we can do the same for every child. We must continue to be a nation that strives always to give each of our children a better future, a nation of optimists who believe our best days are yet to come, a nation of idealists holding fast to our deepest values, that we are all created equal, that we all deserve to fulfill our God-given potential, that we are destined for progress together. It's the ideal inscribed on the base of the Statue of Liberty in this great city that has overlooked our harbor through wars and depression and the dark days of September 11th. The words we all know that give voice to America's embrace. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. A constant reminder that here in America, we face our challenges and we embrace all of our people. So today we say with one voice, give us the child who wants to learn, give us the people in need of work, give us the veterans who need our care. We say, give us this economy to rebuild and this war to end. Give us this nation to heal, this world to lead, this moment to seize. I know we're ready. Thank you all, and God bless you.
Hillary Clinton speaking in a victorious mood in her headquarters in New York. The numbers do not necessarily support her optimism. Let's go through the calls from NBC News here at 2 minutes past 11 o'clock Eastern Time. The Democratic primary in California, too close to call. Are we going to do the calls? All right, California, the polls just closed. That was not the sound of the polls just closing. That was just for comedic effect. All right, Republicans in California. We'll start there instead. They are also too close to call, whether or not there is a graphic. All right, the Arizona Republic, not the newspaper, the Arizona Republican or the Arizona Republic. The Arizona Republicans give John McCain his 7th victory of the night. This one took a while considering it was his home state. A closed primary, and he is handling Mitt Romney with about 1/3 of the vote in. There's also a call to be made in North Dakota at the caucus with all but 2% reporting. Mitt Romney has won in North Dakota his 3rd victory of the night, and won in a place where he did not live at any point to our knowledge. Minnesota giving Barack Obama his 9th individual victory in the Democratic caucuses there. Polling there as of January 29th had him down by 7 points. In Idaho, the caucus there again is going to go, based on our NBC News projection, to Barack Obama, giving him 10 victories on the night to 6 for Senator Clinton. And Chris, to you.
Okay, let's bring in one of the winners tonight in many states, Governor Mike Huckabee, the former governor of Arkansas. Boy, I'm counting your states, Governor. Nobody thought you were going to, everybody thought you were going to be the blocking back for McCain tonight. You end up being the quarterback. Look at this. West Virginia, you won the caucuses earlier today. Georgia, Alabama, Arkansas. Did I miss one, Governor?
Well, I think we're looking at Tennessee. Some have called it for us, and we're leading in Missouri last I checked. So, okay. Well, we'll jump in there and go ahead and call it for me, Chris, so we'll have something really exciting to talk about. Come on.
I don't have the authority, but I would love to do it. Let me ask you about your role in this campaign now. You are winning the South. You've won clearly. You won in Iowa, of course. That really started the whole ball game going for you. John McCain seems to win very effectively in states that Democrats usually win in a general election. What does that tell you about his situation? I mean, I was kidding tonight. He's sort of the Metroliner candidate. New York, Connecticut, up and down the coast, except for Massachusetts, where Governor Romney won. What good does that do to you to have a front runner who only wins in states you probably can't win in the general?
Well, it's critical to win the South, as you know, Chris, as a Republican candidate. You don't win it, you don't become the president. And I've been saying all along that the reason that my campaign had viability and credibility was that we were able to capture votes that Republicans have to capture. But the other side of that is I've been capturing votes in my entire political life that Republicans don't typically capture. 48% of the African-American vote in my state. I'm the only Republican in 119 years that had the endorsement of the Machinist and Aerospace Workers Union and the International Painters Union, which I have in this presidential contest. My support is as wide as homeschoolers and the NEA of New Hampshire. So you have to have that kind of coalition of broad-based support in order to be president.
What do you make of Governor Barber's comment? I don't know if you heard it here on our MSNBC broadcast just a couple of minutes ago, where he said it's basically time for the candidates who are not leading this race to begin to recognize that one candidate is. That's John McCain. I don't want to paraphrase him too strongly or too courageously, but he seemed to be making the point it's time to declare a victory. A victor.
Well, you know, if John McCain gets 1,191 votes, then he's the victor. If I do, then I am. And until he does, nobody has won this thing yet. I think it's a little amazing to me that some of us, take myself, worked awfully hard, had support from people all over this country who have made incredible sacrifices for me to be here tonight. And for me to just look at them and say, okay, you know what? Somebody suggested that I ought to leave and just make it easy for another candidate. I don't think so, Chris. Ain't gonna happen.
Are you going all the way to St. Paul?
I'm going all the way to St. Paul unless somebody gets all those delegates that makes the trip meaningless to me, then I'll save the money. But right now, it looks like we may end up in St. Paul before we have the nominee. Now, if the others would like to drop out and go ahead and turn it over to me, I'll be happy to accept it. But as we say in the South, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in this dog. And just know that there's a whole lot of fight in this dog.
Well, Governor Romney's been making cracks about you being somewhat the Sancho Panza of this affair. You know, the reference to the loyal deputy of a... But let me ask you about what happened. Did you have any hand in a deal in West Virginia? Was there any deal to throw it to you by the McCain people that you know anything about?
No, I wish I was so smart. We had heard that the Ron Paul people had decided that if their guy couldn't get it, that they would throw their support to me. You know, I think it's probably pretty logical if the McCain people didn't get their guy in, that they would support me over Mitt Romney. But as far as did I have any contact with the campaign? No. Did I sit down with anybody and work something out? No. But I sure am grateful that we won West Virginia. And, you know, here's the thing. Today, Mitt Romney was whining. Yesterday, he said we shouldn't be whining. Once again, he's changed from the no-whine position to the whine position. He's taken both sides of whining, and I think at least I can congratulate him on being consistent in taking both sides of everything I know.
He should serve no wine before it's time.
I wanted to use that line so badly, and my staff said, don't. Nobody will get it. And you took it from me, but I'm glad you did. I'm going to tell them I should have used it after all.
We both stole it from Orson Welles, but anyway, here's Keith.
We both stole it, yeah.
It can be usable somewhere down the line, and we all know that in our respective businesses. Last question, sir. Again, with these quotes coming from the Romney campaign, I just wanted to get your reaction while we had you. Are you, in fact, in cahoots with or the sidekick of John McCain?
No, I'm running against John McCain. He's running against me. You know what I think is hard for the Romney people to understand? John McCain and I actually believe that politics can be conducted in a civil, gentlemanly way. And I know that may be just a shock to the Romney campaign, but both of us approach this that we're running for president. We're not running to see if we can take a ball-peen hammer to each other's kneecaps and see if we can disable the other. And that's why I think the Romney campaign keeps thinking there's some kind of unholy alliance. Look, we're opponents. But we also believe that this country is more important than either one of us individually, so we want to keep it clean and honorable so when it's over, we'll be able to unite this party and win so that we can have a Republican president that will keep taxes lower, keep families in the forefront, and keep the Republican values out there for America.
I guess we can take that from you as another vote for Mitt Romney for miscongeniality in this whole debate. Anyway, thank you very much. It's getting so interesting here. Governor Huckabee, congratulations on your victories tonight. You surprised a lot of pundits like myself. A lot of victories tonight in your column. Let's turn now to Nora O'Donnell to take us further inside tonight's races. Nora.
All right, Chris, thank you very much. And let's take a look at the state, of course, that everyone is focused on tonight. The big one, California, where, of course, the polls have just closed. What's at stake? Well, 170 delegates are up for grabs on the Republican side. 370 delegates up for grabs on the Democratic side. And until this year, California held its primary so late that it wasn't a big player. Well, this year, it's the biggest player of them all. Two groups to look at in California on the Democratic side: independents and Hispanics. You know, California Democrats only started allowing independents to vote in their primary in 2004, so that's new. And we know that from exit polls in the past, those independents have favored Barack Obama. As for Hispanics, there are 13 million Hispanics in California. Of course, about 5 million, I should say, are eligible to vote. In fact, 1 in every 4 Hispanic voters lives in California. And of course, Hispanics have favored Hillary Clinton in the past. So this could be a very close contest. We've heard that predicted by both campaigns. We may not know the results until later tonight. On the Republican side, it is a closed Republican primary. So in order for McCain to do well, he is going to have to do well among those so-called conservatives that he has had trouble with in the past. Back to you guys.
Okay, Nori, thank you very much. Joining us right now is David Axelrod, who's, of course, the top consultant and strategist. We love having him on the program. Well, your candidate won 10 votes tonight, 10 big states tonight: Georgia, Alabama, Connecticut, Delaware, Illinois, Kansas, Minnesota, North Dakota, Utah, Idaho. A lot of states where the predominant vote is white. Does that show that he's gotten beyond this challenge of getting his majority share of the white vote, to be blunt about it?
Well, I don't know why you guys thought that was such a challenge. He won the state of Iowa to start this whole process. He won rural Nevada. He did well in South Carolina in winning that primary. But tonight he won East, North, South, West. And remember, there are some more states yet to be heard from where I think he's going to do quite well. I understand Idaho is now in that column. So, yes, I think he's proven the breadth of his candidacy, and also why he would be the strongest nominee for our party, because he's bringing so many people into the process: independent voters, disaffected Republican voters, young voters, and he's swelling the participation in all of these contests. I heard about a caucus in Kansas that had 3,000 people show up, where he won overwhelmingly. So I think Barack Obama has brought some new energy to this Democratic Party.
How do you get Barack Obama in the last half of this fight? There's a little more than half left of it in this fight for the nomination. The regular season sort of follows the playoffs in this sport. As you get into the regular season of 2 or 3 primaries a week, how do you get him in front of large enough crowds so he can have an advantage over the Clintons, who've had so much political capital built up over 20 years?
Well, Chris, you described the great challenge, and this is why we're always the underdog in this race. They've got the greatest name in Democratic politics. They've got a machine they've honed over 2 decades, and that's what we've been fighting from the beginning. But this was the toughest day, 22 states over the course of 1 day, and you know, actually it'll be more manageable doing a few states at a time in the future. The bigger thing is we've got the volunteer base and the financial base to compete in those states. As you know, we've got almost between 650 and 700,000 contributors. Almost so many of them are small contributors. Only 3% have maxed out to us. And these people are going to continue to support this campaign because they sense a real opportunity for change in this country, an unparalleled opportunity. So we're fortified for the fights to come. We've had a great night tonight, and we're ready to go. We're fired up and we're ready to go.
David, about Massachusetts, the conventional wisdom when that was called by the various networks was that the endorsement of Senator Kennedy and members of the Kennedy family, to say nothing of Senator Kerry and Governor Deval Patrick, did not have the impact that you wanted in Massachusetts because it was not a close outcome and your candidate did not win. Do you have a counter to that argument?
Well, I mean, the fact is that that was the best state Bill Clinton had the last time he ran for president. The Clintons have a long-standing association with the voters of that state, and you know, we had a short run-up to the February 5th primaries there. But let's be clear that those endorsements have been helpful to us far beyond the borders of Massachusetts. Senator Kennedy's endorsement, Caroline Kennedy's endorsement, had a galvanic effect, and it's one of the reasons why we've closed a 20-point gap in the national polls and why we've been able to fight so well today, and why we've won so many states across the country. So we're grateful for their efforts, and they're going to all play a big role in our campaign moving forward.
How about California tonight? What's your expectation, David?
Well, I always thought that was going to be a tough one for us because of early voting. A lot of our surge has come in the last couple of weeks, but voting began before that, and that's a hard thing to overcome. I think we're running a surprisingly strong race there, however, and I'm really looking forward to hearing the results. One thing I'm sure of is we're going to come out of California with a boatload of delegates, and that's really what this day is all about. There were over 1,600 delegates at stake. I think we're going to get at least our share and maybe more, and I think that's going to give us a great foundation moving forward.
David, we got a call here, right? Senator Clinton has won.
All right.
Has won Arizona tonight. What do you make of that tonight? That's a projected winner in Arizona. We're putting that in the Senator Clinton column. What do you make of that development tonight?
I think I think you're going to find it was a very close race in Arizona tonight, and you know, that was a state where we were again coming from behind, and I think we closed well, and we're going to leave with a lot of delegates from that state. We had the support of the governor, Janet Napolitano. I think that helped us close the gap, and I saw in one exit poll that we got 45% of the Hispanic vote in the state, which was a good number for us, good progress for us. So you know, we feel good about the 10 states we've won, as I'm sure they feel good about the 7 they've won, and I look forward to hearing about the rest.
Okay, David, by the way, as you campaign through Virginia, Maryland, and the District of Columbia, remember that hardball is located at the epicenter of those 3 states, and if you come through with your candidate, give us an hour, and we'll give you an hour back, okay? David Axelrod, Chief Media Consultant for the Senator from Illinois and the man who won 10 states tonight. Coming up, the delegate count as it stands now, plus much more from our panel as our exit polls continue and as we await results on that big prize of California, which is now too close to call. Your MSNBC live coverage continues live on Super Duper Tuesday, which is proving to be quite a fascinating night tonight.
As we await both some information and guidance from California and also John McCain speaking to his faithful in a few moments, the excitement of Super Tuesday perhaps best described of anything we've discussed tonight by this report from election officials reporting people improperly trying to cast ballots tonight. Improperly because this was taking place in Florida, where they voted last week. On that note, let's turn to Chuck Todd, political director of NBC News, who's tracking the delegate race for us tonight. I don't think there's been any change in Florida tonight, has there?
No change yet. In fact, we're waiting for the lawyers to step in on that one, don't forget. Well, what we've been trying to do a little bit is at least get an estimate of what the delegate totals are going to be, what each boiler room's going into the big numbers in California and Arizona, and Colorado, which are 3 of the sort of bigger delegate totals that we have no clue yet how they're going to break up. And from what we've been able to put together with our own estimates, talking with the Clinton campaign, talking with the Obama campaign, is that we've got Obama sitting at about 594 delegates, and we've got Clinton sitting at about 546. And frankly, what does that mean? It means we are looking at an even split. The one thing I think we all sort of secretly never thought was going to happen, but this thing seems razor thin. The likelihood that we could have 839 after tonight, after all, there's 1678. 840 was the big thing that we thought we were going to get. Obviously, Arizona, this is a good delegate split state for Senator Clinton. She's likely to get a little more of an advantage there than she normally would have gotten. Massachusetts, by the way, as the vote totals have been coming in, she's gotten some bigger delegate margins than she expected. It really helped her a lot there. But the big thing for Obama and what's kept him in this game was, number one, he did pretty well in New York, scored somewhere between 90 and 94 delegates, depending on whose estimate you believe, which kept her margins down a little bit. But he's just cleaning up in these caucus states. They believe they're going to have a net 20 out of Minnesota. They got North Dakota. We're still waiting on Idaho, but they feel good. They feel good about Colorado. We've seen these caucus states. They spend a lot more resources there. They spend a lot more time, and it's going to be one of those things that's going to keep them in the game. Moving to the Republicans, we do feel like we have a range that we can say. With McCain, we can sit here and say that he's going to get as few as 400 and as many as about 650. The McCain campaign feels like they're going to probably get somewhere in the 500s. They would love to get to the 600s tonight because there are not a lot of winner-take-all states left. He's really benefited from the winner-take-all. Texas is one. That comes up on March 4th. Virginia is one. That's one next week. As for Romney, we've got Romney. With Romney, we think his total range is going to be somewhere between as little as 170 and as much as 428. This means he would have to do really well in California, a lot better than any of us have thought. So we'll take a look. As for Huckabee's range, he could get 200 delegates tonight. What'll be interesting is, what if he gets more delegates than Romney? Hard to imagine because we don't expect him to get many delegates out of California, but we'll see.
All right, Chuck Todd, great thanks for that, and it tells you just how close this is. As Tim Russert rejoins us, I'm missing something, and it's probably all those years I wasted in sports. Barack Obama has won 10 of the 17 victories tonight. He won 3 toss-up states that we've been discussing as critical going in here: Connecticut, Utah, and Delaware. The Todd delegates, as opposed to the official delegates, suggest that it's Obama 594, Clinton 546, and California may be close enough to be a 50-50 split. I'm not understanding, other than from the political bravado PR point of view, where the claim of momentum comes from the Hillary Clinton campaign. Can you tell me what I'm missing?
Keith, what they will point to is that you get this sort of tantalizing close for Obama after Iowa, New Hampshire, and then it slipped away. And so Obama is almost being penalized for all the good news that people were watching from his campaign last week. We might win New Jersey. We might win Massachusetts. We might even win California. The fact is, it's the delegates that nominate. Both campaigns will acknowledge that. What the Obama campaign did want tonight was to go into, a week from tonight, the Chesapeake primary, Virginia, Maryland, and D.C., by being able to point to a bold capture of a state that was destined to be Hillary Clinton's. Connecticut is certainly something they'll point to. Hillary Clinton, on the other hand, will say, from Massachusetts to New Jersey, she hopes to Missouri to California, you see, I have the broad sweep of the country. I keep going back to the delegate count because it's that tight, it's that important. I think there'll be a lot of spin on both sides, but again, the enticing sense of impending victory that many of the Obama supporters had going into tonight in terms of grabbing onto one of those hotly competitive big states seems to have slipped away at this moment, other than Connecticut.
Let's talk down the road dynamically. David Axelrod is bullish as hell, Tim, about his ability to raise money with so many thousands of contributors who have nowhere near maxed out. They're sort of regular people, young people that have given small amounts, plenty more room to give. He's confident that he can win the money game from here on out. Barack Obama also does well, as you and I know and everyone knows, when he can get in a room with people. If he can do 2 or 3 states a week rather than 20 states a week, he has the advantage. Does he have a money and a campaign itinerary advantage at this point coming out of tonight?
Money, clearly they demonstrated last couple of weeks how much they could raise. $32 million versus $13 for the Clinton campaign. Right. And the calendar. But the Clinton people will acknowledge that the Obama people are correct. The next 6 or 7 primaries and caucuses are ones that Obama could win. Next week with the Chesapeake, as I mentioned. And so this is far from over because, remember, guys, we all thought a few weeks ago that Super Tuesday would be definitive. This would be it.
Yes.
Hillary Clinton never anticipated she would have a well-financed, well-organized opponent like Barack Obama this far into the primary season. It's far from over. It's just that my response to Keith was the Obama people's hopes, expectations were so high, they really thought that they could pull off a few dramatic surprises and take the upper hand going into the final few months of this campaign.
Does this remind you about 1984, where the Mondale people were brilliant at suggesting that if they survived the onslaught of Gary Hart at that time, he was the insurgent in those days, in Georgia, if they could hold that one state against him, it would make up for losing 7 out of 9 states that day. I'm just going back to Keith's numbers. If you look at the numbers tonight, Barack did really well. He won he won a majority of the states so far. He's done very well. He picked up Connecticut. He didn't quite get New Jersey, as you point out. He hasn't quite gotten California. We haven't called that yet. But just because he hasn't quite knocked her out, she declares herself the triumphant champion. It seems like Mondale over Gary Hart all over again.
You know, Gary Hart still can tick off the states that he won that night and in subsequent weeks. But
Brian Gumbel declared Bob Beckel the winner the next morning. I will never forget it.
I think we have to be very, very careful about declaring winners. You know, it was Harold Ickes, the senior advisor to Hillary Clinton, who said to me a few weeks ago, remember this, if you don't remember anything else, it's not states that elect or nominate candidates, it's delegates. Delegates, delegates. And we have to keep a very hard count. That's why we have asked each of the campaigns for their list of the superdelegates. Don't give us a number. Give us a list. And now those campaigns are within 90 delegates of each other on the superdelegates. So this is a very close primary race with a lot more twists and turns to play out. Every time people began to think it was just about over, we learned otherwise.
Well, and to that point, Tim, we haven't talked about the Republicans with you for a little while here. Who's the stalking horse? Who's in third place? Or I mean, I think nobody's going to take the leadership away from John McCain after tonight, after 7 victories. But did Romney and Huckabee officially switch back and forth tonight?
I think that Mike Huckabee has emerged as the alternative to John McCain. You know, what's my name? I can hear him saying. And if there is an alliance between the two of them, it is now one of co-equals in terms of tonight. Huckabee has demonstrated a real pull in the Bible Belt. When you look at those surveys, Keith, it's amazing. A majority of the Republican voters in many of the states say the one person who represents my values is Mike Huckabee. And John McCain cannot win a general election without the values voters of the Republican conservative movement in his corner.
And Haley Barbour was on tonight, Tim, the governor of Mississippi, who's the old chair of the party, really a political guy, if there ever was one. And he was saying it was basically time to ring the bell, come home, pick a nominee, and stop all this, that the people who can't win should quit. And then we had Mike Huckabee on a few moments ago who said he's not quit. He's in love with this campaign. He said, I can't betray my troops. Romney's out there saying this is the beginning of a great campaign. These Republicans are not acting like Republicans. I think that's fair to say.
Well, Romney needs a victory in California, though. I really believe that. He can't keep spending his, well, he can keep spending his own money if he wants to, but he needs something tangible to hold on to other than Massachusetts and Utah. It becomes to be perceived as a fool's errand. Huckabee, because of the commitment of people he has, is running without much money. I mean, he can fly on coach and seats and airplanes and puddle jump around the country and demonstrate his ability to draw votes and gain delegates, go to the convention, have a real voice on the platform, and who knows, maybe say to John McCain, I'm the conservative Republican who can help you with the conservative base.
But he probably was either being hyperbolic or didn't realize the implications of this. But when Chris asked him about whether or not he was going to go all the way to St. Paul, he said yes, unless I've already got all the delegates and I don't need to make the trip and can save the money. And I'm thinking, no, don't you want to show up in St. Paul, especially if you have all the delegates? But seriously, where between here and St. Paul, where is he going to get some votes?
On the road to Damascus.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I thought this was Damascus on the road to St. Paul this year because it's the most chaotic Republican Party I've ever seen, Tim.
It is remarkable because nobody has been able to put together the elements that Ronald Reagan put together or the elements that George Bush put together in terms of the economic conservative, the foreign policy hardliner, and the values voter. And it is necessary for the Republicans to do that to go into a general election. McCain has the upper hand. He has a lot of delegates, a boatload full tonight. And he's going to try to consolidate the nomination. But Huckabee is not going to be denied. He has a voice in this process now based on his performance so far tonight. And my instinct, looking at some of these states still out, I think he has a few more wins coming his way.
Tom Brokaw is going to join us right now. Tom?
Well, I've been talking with somebody who is familiar with the Romney campaign, and they say a week ago tomorrow actually, there was a big family conference within the campaign about how hard he should go after John McCain, how much of his own fortune he should use to do that. He apparently spent a long day in conference with his family and with his advisors and decided that he would not, in fact, go the scorched earth route, and that, all right, we're going to go to Mitt Romney wins Minnesota. I'm told this back in my old job here. He's our projected winner in Minnesota. The caucus state, it gets him a few more delegates. But, of course, it's the big state of California that we're waiting to see how he does. And at any rate, in the Romney circle, they're very concerned that he destroy his chances for another run at the presidency at some point downstream. And if he doesn't win California tonight, obviously, then he has to make a very hard decision about folding his tent and moving on. And apparently, it was a day-long meeting a week ago. He got some help in subsequent days from the conservative talk show circuit, but probably not enough to carry him through this evening in a way that he had hoped that he would.
Tom, the Reagan model comes to mind where you challenge the incumbent or the front runner, Jerry Ford, in that case back in '76, but you immediately begin your campaign to replace him.
Yeah, well, the other thing about Ronald Reagan is that he had better standing, I think, in the Republican Party among those who would show up at the convention than Mitt Romney would have at a convention. He would have to wait until the convention is over and then begin his run. You know, and he could take a couple of years and go around the country on the lecture circuit, if you will, begin to build some relationships with conservatives and demonstrate in some fashion or another, maybe with a think tank, or use some of his considerable political fortune to, in effect, reinvent himself and persuade everybody that he is an authentic conservative. After all, those radio ads that the McCain campaign played, in which he described himself as an independent during the Reagan-Bush years, didn't help him with the hardcore conservatives, I'm sure.
So, Tom, has Romney hit just up against that wall past which you ruin your chances for a later nomination, the race of 2012, or even later than that, or have other people dragged him to that wall? Where does he, in that construction that he is saving his identity for a later race, how close to the edge has he gotten?
Well, I think he's gotten pretty close to the edge, and I think tonight will be a big determinant of that. If he wins California, of course, he lives to see another day. But a lot of it will depend on California and how he does in the American West. And he doesn't want to go out as somebody who not only spent a lot of his own money, but kind of lost his dignity along the way as well. So these are hard decisions for candidates to make at this point. The night is not over. California is still there for him to win. We're counting the vote right now, as you know, and on the Democratic side and on the Republican side, it's not yet possible for us to make a projection about who will win the big Golden State. Now, Arnold Schwarzenegger was at John McCain's side for a lot of that. McCain didn't spend as much money as Romney did out there. Rudy Giuliani was around as well. McCain was very popular on the talk show circuit. Californians like his kind of Republican. Big war hero. He's a maverick. He plays into the state as it's currently constituted in the GOP.
And I wonder whether people like Jerry Parsky out there, the great party guy out there in Southern California, they've been sort of praying for a McCain-type candidate. They found, Tom and Tim, they found, of course, Schwarzenegger came along almost like manna from heaven. Well, here he is, John McCain, the man we're speaking about, Tom and Tim. Here he is about to acknowledge his big victories tonight. They were all, of course, most of them along the eastern seaboard, which is tough territory for Republicans, but he looks like he's done what he wanted to do tonight. There he is with Cindy.
I'll tell you, Keith and Chris, it's remarkable. He's 71 years old. He started the morning here on the Today Show in New York, and look at him. He's still going strong.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Tonight, my friends, we've won a number of important victories in the closest thing we've ever had to a national primary. We've won some of the biggest states in the country. We've won primaries in the West, the South, the Midwest, and the Northeast. And although I've never minded the role of the underdog and have relished as much as anyone come from behind wins, tonight I think we must get used to the idea that we are the Republican Party frontrunner for the nomination of President of the United States. And I don't really mind it one bit. I'm so grateful to so many people for what we accomplished tonight, all the staff, supporters, and volunteers who stuck with us through thick and thin, and it was thick and thin, and worked so hard on my behalf. I owe you all a debt I can never fully repay, but I promise I'll never forget it. And I'll work every day of my life to prove myself worthy of your faith in me. I want to especially thank those of you who have recently joined our campaign and were so indispensable to our success tonight. Thank you, of course, to my family, my wife Cindy, my children, Megan, Bridget, Doug, and Andy. And my children who could not be here. And my wonderful, wonderful mother, Roberta McCain. Who in 2 days will be 96 years old. We're taking her everywhere. It's obvious to me, as it is to everyone, that I couldn't have done this without you. And finally, thank you, Arizona. It's wonderful to be home tonight among so many of our friends to celebrate this night. You know, I was over 40 years old before I could claim a hometown. And I can't express how fortunate I feel to have found a home in this beautiful state that has come to mean so much to me. You know, I am, as is often reported, a little superstitious. So I don't want to make any exaggerated predictions, and there's still a long road ahead. However, I think it's fair to say that we might have come a little bit closer to today, to the day when mothers in Arizona might be able to tell their children that someday they could grow up to be President of the United States. I want to congratulate Governor Huckabee and his supporters for their success today and tonight. Not for the first time, he surprised the rest of us and proved again his exceptional skills as a campaigner and the extraordinary commitment and determination of the people who believe so passionately in him. I salute you. I salute Governor Huckabee. And I want to congratulate Governor Romney as well on his wins today. You know, he and I have been going at it pretty hard over the last few weeks, and he's a tough competitor. The closeness of the contest in California is testament to that, and to the dedication of his supporters, and I salute them too. This election, like any election, is a rough and tumble business. We all want to win, and we fight as hard as we can to do it. But I have respect for people who are willing to accept the extraordinary demands, all the ups and downs of such a tough and long contest, and Governor Romney has mine. We still have a ways to go, but we're much closer to the victory we've worked so hard to achieve. I am confident we will get there. And I am mindful that I'm not only running for the highest office in the greatest country on earth, but that I'm also running for the great privilege of leading the party that has been my political home for a quarter century. I'm grateful for and humbled by the prospect. And I promise you, if I am so fortunate to win your nomination, I will work hard to ensure that the conservative philosophy and principles of our great party, principles that have done so well by the country we love, will again win the votes of a majority of the American people and defeat any candidate our friends. And I promise you, if I am so fortunate to win your nomination, I will work hard to ensure that the conservative philosophy and principles of our great party, principles that have done so well by the country we love, will again win the votes of a majority of the American people and defeat any candidate our friends on the other side nominate.
And perfect timing, Senator McCain with an olive branch to Governor Romney, and now from New York, here's Senator Obama.
Thank you. Well, first of all, let me just say I could not have a better senior senator than our great senator from the state of Illinois, Dick Durbin. I have too many friends to mention, each one of them individually. But it is good to be back home. It is good to be home. It is good to be home. It is good to have Michelle home. The girls are with us tonight, but we asked them, did you want to come on stage? And Malia, our 9-year-old, said, Daddy, you know that's not my thing. So they're upstairs doing what they do. Before I begin, I just want to send my condolences to the victims of the storms that hit Tennessee and Arkansas today. They are in our thoughts and in our prayers, and we hope that our federal government will respond quickly and rapidly to make sure that they get all the help that they need. The polls are just closing in California, and the votes are still being counted in cities and towns across America. But there is one thing, you know I love you back. But there is one thing on this February night that we do not need the final results to know. Our time has come. Our time has come. Our movement is real. And change is coming to America. Only a few hundred miles from here, almost 1 year ago to the day, as Dick said, we stood on the steps of the old state capitol to reaffirm a truth that was spoken there so many generations ago, that a house divided cannot stand, that we are more than a collection of red states and blue states. We are and always will be the United States of America. What began as a whisper in Springfield soon carried across the cornfields of Iowa, where farmers and factory workers, students and seniors stood up in numbers we have never seen before. They stood up to say that maybe this year we don't have to settle for politics where scoring points is more important than solving problems. Maybe this year we can finally start doing something about health care we can't afford. Maybe this year we can start doing something about mortgages we can't pay. Maybe this year, this time can be different. Their voices echoed from the hills of New Hampshire to the deserts of Nevada, where teachers and cooks and kitchen workers stood up to say that maybe Washington doesn't have to be run by lobbyists anymore. Maybe the voices of the American people can finally be heard again. They reached the coast of South Carolina when people said that maybe we don't have to be divided by race and region and gender. That crumbling schools are stealing the future of black children and white children. That we can come together and build an America that gives every child, everywhere, the opportunity to live out their dreams. This time can be different. And today, on this Tuesday in February, in states north and south, east and west, what began as a whisper in Springfield has swelled to a chorus of millions calling for change. It's a chorus that cannot be ignored, a chorus that cannot be deterred. This time can be different because this campaign for the presidency of the United States of America is different. It's different not because of me. It's different because of you. Because you are tired of being disappointed. And you're tired of being let down. You're tired of hearing promises made and plans proposed in the heat of a campaign only to have nothing change when everyone goes back to Washington. Nothing changes because lobbyists just write another check. Or politicians start worrying about how they'll win the next election instead of why they should. Or because they focus on who's up and who's down instead of who matters. And while Washington is consumed with the same drama and divisions and distractions, another family puts up a for sale sign in their front yard. Another factory shuts its doors. Another soldier waves goodbye as he leaves on another tour of duty in a war that should have never been authorized and should have never been waged. It goes on and on and on. But in this election, at this moment, you are standing up all across this country to say, not this time. Not this year. The stakes are too high and the challenge is too great to play the same Washington game with the same Washington players and somehow expect a different result. This time must be different. This time we have to turn the page. This time we have to write a new chapter in American history. This time we have to seize the moment. Now, this isn't about me, and it's not about Senator Clinton. As I've said before, she was a friend before this campaign. She'll be a friend after it's over. I respect her. I respect her as a colleague. I congratulate her on her victories tonight. She's been running an outstanding race. But this fall, we owe the American people a real choice. We have to choose between change and more of the same. We have to choose between looking backwards and looking forwards. We have to choose between our future and our past. It's a choice between going into this election with Republicans and independents already united against us, or going against their nominee with a campaign that has united Americans of all parties, from all backgrounds, from all races, from all religions, around a common purpose. It's a choice between having a debate with the other party about who has the most experience in Washington, or having one about who's most likely to change Washington, because that's a debate that we can win. It's a choice between a candidate who's taken more money from Washington lobbyists than either Republican in this race, and a campaign that has not taken a dime of their money, because we have been funded by you. You have funded this campaign. And if I'm your nominee, my opponent will not be able to say that I voted for the war in Iraq, because I didn't. Or that I gave George Bush the benefit of the doubt on Iran, because I haven't. Or that I support the Bush-Cheney doctrine of not talking to leaders we don't like, because I profoundly disagree with that approach. And he will not be able to say that I wavered on something as fundamental as whether or not it's okay for America to use torture, because it's never okay. That is the choice in this election. The Republicans running for president have already tied themselves to the past. They speak of a 100-year war in Iraq. They talk about billions more in tax breaks for the wealthiest few who don't need them and didn't even ask for them. Tax breaks that mortgage our children's future on a mountain of debt at a time when there are families who can't pay their medical bills and students who can't pay their tuition. Those Republicans are running on the politics of yesterday. And that is why our party must be the party of tomorrow. And that is the party that I intend to lead as President of the United States of America. I'll be the president who ends the tax breaks to companies that ship our jobs overseas and start putting them in the pockets of hard-working Americans who deserve them, and struggling homeowners who deserve them, and seniors who should retire with dignity and respect and deserve them. I'll be the president who finally brings Democrats and Republicans together to make health care affordable and available for every single American. We will put a college education within the reach of anyone who wants to go. And instead of just talking about how great our teachers are, we will reward them for their greatness with more pay and better support. And we will harness the ingenuity of farmers and scientists and entrepreneurs to free this nation from the tyranny of oil once and for all. And we will invest in solar and wind and biodiesel, clean energy, green energy that can fuel economic development for generations to come. That's what we're going to do when I'm President of the United States. When I'm president, we will put an end to the politics of fear. A politics that uses 9/11 as a way to scare up votes. We're going to start seeing 9/11 as a challenge that should unite America and the world against the common threats of the 21st century: terrorism and nuclear weapons, climate change and poverty, genocide and disease. We can do this. We can do this. But it will not be easy. It will require struggle and it will require sacrifice. There will be setbacks and we will make mistakes. And that is why we need all the help we can get. So tonight, I want to speak directly to all those Americans who have yet to join this movement, but still hunger for change. They know it in their gut. They know we can do better than we're doing. They know that we can take our politics to a higher level. But they're afraid. They've been taught to be cynical. They're doubtful that it can be done. But I'm here to say tonight to all of you who still harbor those doubts, we need you. We need you to stand with us. We need you to work with us. We need you to help us prove that together, ordinary people can still do ordinary, extraordinary things in the United States of America. I am blessed to be standing in the city where my own extraordinary journey of service began. You know, just a few miles from here, down on the south side, in the shadow of a shuttered steel plant, it was there that I learned what it takes to make change happen. I was a young organizer intent on fighting joblessness and poverty on the south side, and I still remember one of the very first meetings I put together. We had worked on it for days. We had made phone calls, we had knocked on doors, we had put out flyers, but on that night nobody showed up. Our volunteers who had worked so hard felt so defeated they wanted to quit. And to be honest, so did I. But at that moment, I happened to look outside, and I saw some young boys tossing stones at a boarded-up apartment building across the street. They were like the boys in so many cities across the country. Little boys, but without prospects, without guidance, without hope for the future. And I turned to the volunteers and I asked them, before you quit, before you give up, I want you to answer one question. What will happen to those boys if we don't stand up for them? And those volunteers, they looked out that window and they saw those boys. And they decided that night to keep going, to keep organizing, keep fighting for better schools, fighting for better jobs, fighting for better health care. And I did too. And slowly but surely, in the weeks and months to come, the community began to change. You see, the challenges we face will not be solved with one meeting in one night. It will not be resolved on even a Super Duper Tuesday. Change will not come if we wait for some other person or if we wait for some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. We are the hope of those boys who have so little, who've been told that they cannot have what they dream. that they cannot be what they imagine. Yes, they can. We are the hope of the father who goes to work before dawn and lies awake with doubt that tells him he cannot give his children the same opportunities that someone gave him. Yes, he can. We are the hope of the woman who hears that her city will not be rebuilt, that she cannot somehow claim the life that was swept away in a terrible storm. Yes, she can. We are the hope of the future. The answer to the cynics who tell us our house must stand divided, that we cannot come together, that we cannot remake this world as it should be. We know that we have seen something happen over the last several weeks, over the past several months. We know that what began as a whisper has now swelled to a chorus that cannot be ignored, that will not be deterred, that will ring out across this land as a hymn that will heal this nation, repair this world, make this time different than all the rest. Yes, we can. Let's go work. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Thank you, Chicago. Let's go get to work. I love you.
We're the ones we've been waiting for. A taste of what it's like to be in an Obama event. You saw it tonight. It's after midnight now on the East Coast, and we've got some new results to bring in, starting in Montana tonight. There it comes, the big board, Montana. The projected winner, Mitt Romney on the Republican side. He's carried Montana, the caucuses. Another one in Montana, well, there it is again. He's carried it. Mitt Romney, the winner in Montana. In Tennessee, Huckabee dominating the Deep South, dominating the Bible Belt. Mike Huckabee, another big win for him tonight. He just keeps winning where he was supposed to be the blocking back. Let's take a look at Colorado. On the Democratic side, Barack Obama, another caucus state. Big win for him. Substantial win for him, Barack Obama in Colorado. Too close to call in California, the big enchilada. We've been waiting for that. We'll stay waiting for that. McCain and Romney still too close to call on the Republican fight in the primary in California. In Missouri, too close to call on the Republican side between McCain and Mike Huckabee, his challenger there. It just keeps going. The fights tonight. California too close to call on the Democratic side as well as on the Republican side between Hillary Clinton, who was heavily favored out there just a few weeks ago. Let's go to Missouri right now, another state that just won't give tonight. Too close to call. Missouri and California hanging on tonight. Too close to call in the Democratic side. Hillary Clinton trying to hold that state. It's amazing tonight, I must say. It is so hard to declare, Keith, a winner tonight, except to say the candidates of the Democratic side have held their own. New Jersey did budge and go to Hillary. It held on there. But no big surprise on the Democratic side, really. If you look at the projections that were laid out to us by our resident expert, Chuck Todd, days, in fact, weeks ago, he's seen how it was going to turn out tonight. On the Republican side, the big surprise, it has to be a profoundly unhappy result for Mitt Romney. The southern states, the Bible Belt states that he was hoping to compete in, he's no longer even a competitor. It turns out that the battle was between McCain and the superior forces of Mike Huckabee. The man who was the third man in this race has become the second man in this race. That's the big development tonight. On the Republican side, it looks like a battle now as it continues into the twilight between John McCain, who keeps winning in states Republicans don't normally win in general elections. So you have to wonder about that. And Mike Huckabee, who keeps winning in states Republicans always carry. Amazing development tonight.
Well, the other amazing development, obviously, as we wait and figured we wouldn't have California decided by this point, we could conceivably have something out of California before we have something out of Missouri in either race.
You know more than you say, sir.
No, I do not. I know that if you've got 90...
It is imminent. I think we're getting close to something like a California. It is still too close to call in California.
But look at the Missouri numbers again. You can look at the difference in Missouri in the Democratic race with 97% of the vote in. They're 3,211 votes apart.
And that has been called the classic American state. If it's fair to call any state the truly American state, it has Kansas City. It has St. Louis. It has southern, northern, eastern, western elements to it.
It has Republicans who are 7,000 votes apart with 97%.
Another case there in Missouri for the Republican side. It is always a tough state. It has a unique political history. Not to go back into history, it's the only state that voted for Ike, the great war hero, in '52, and then voted to boot him out in '56. So you can't quite figure Missouri. It is the show-me state, and it's waiting to be shown.
Estes Kefauver just made the difference in '56 for them. That was the man they wanted.
I think it was Harry Truman with one last swat at the Republicans, I think.
All right, let's bring back NBC's Tom Brokaw as we look at Missouri and California and the Obama speech, and before that the McCain speech. Before the McCain speech gets out of our memory, there was this presumably unintentional moment by Senator McCain when he offered his congratulations to Governor Romney, and there was a 2 or 3 beat pause where nobody in that room said nothing. You could hear the cameras humming in the back.
Well, and he also acknowledged that it's been pretty hard between the two of them for the last couple of weeks, which it has been. And, of course, tonight is a night that he can be gracious to Mitt Romney because Mitt Romney didn't show up much on the scoreboard tonight. When you were saying just a moment ago, Chris, that there have been no big surprises yet, I don't think we can say that with California and Missouri still outstanding. We'll find out what happens in California. Senator Clinton had a big lead going in a couple of months ago. We've all believed that it was tightening in the last couple of weeks. There's been an enormous effort on the part of Senator Obama out there. This one could end up very close. I think the big picture at the end of the night is that the race goes on from here. We'll have an accounting of the delegates tomorrow, but there will be a lot of talk about momentum as well and taking the wider universe of how many votes were cast for which candidate, and then they'll try to leverage that in the states that are still upcoming. And there remains the possibility that for the first time really since 1976 we could have a convention in which you're going to have to put together enough delegates to win, and you may have to do it that week. 1976, of course, was on the Republican side when Ronald Reagan challenged the sitting president, Gerald Ford, who had gotten the presidency because of the resignation of Richard Nixon during Watergate. So that remains an open possibility. We have days and weeks to go. Senator Clinton has already said this week that she'd like to have one debate a week for the next 4 weeks, thinking that will keep her in the hunt, obviously.
Oh, boy. As we've all participated, and I think most people at home have now moderated one as well. Have we, one more thing on the Republican side, Tom, did we pull the turf up over Governor Romney too quickly? Because when we were talking about him last, it was the places he used to live and or run the Olympics. And since then, it's been North Dakota, Minnesota, Montana. Not that they're huge delegate totals or overwhelmingly impressive trophies to put on there, but it gives him on the night at least a numerical tie with Governor Huckabee, and he's right behind McCain. Is there some life in the Romney candidacy that we were not seeing an hour ago? There would be a lot of life in the Romney candidacy if he wins California, and that remains a possibility, obviously. And I'm sure that they're keeping very close focus on that at this hour. That's the decision that he'll have to make. Yes, I think we have to be a little careful in counting him out. As I said a few moments ago, what we have in the Republican Party is the Humpty Dumpty factor. Who's going to put this all back together again? It's going to take all the king's horses and all the king's men, and it's going to take some goodwill on the part of these candidates. I heard Chris say that Haley Barbour was saying we got to get behind somebody. That's much easier said than done under these circumstances, Chris, don't you think? Let's look at, yeah, I think it is the Republican side. I'm looking at the Democratic side. I look at 3 factors that may be continuing along a pattern here. One is the fundraising machine of the surprising fundraising capacity of Barack Obama using the web, basically the internet, to go out and raise money from people who've never given a nickel before. And hardly any of them are maxed out, as we say. They're well below their ability to give money. Then you look at the, oh, here we go. We got news, a Democratic winner upsetting any conversation until now. Here we have a winner coming in from California. Hillary Clinton has won California. And that, I think, was the goal as to end the evening. Certainly for her, it was the goal for Obama. But clearly,
Tom Brokaw, we've got a winner in California, a cap to the evening. I expect Terry McAuliffe and company will be out tonight with the Ballyhoo boys claiming that they have won the night.
Well, this is going to be a big night about spin. We were saying going into Super Tuesday that we should know who the nominees are going to be at the end of this evening. But once again, in all of our conventional and collective wisdom, we were wrong. The fact of the matter is it goes on from here. There must be an enormous sigh of relief in the Clinton campaign that they did win California. They were well organized out there for a long time. Obama made a real run at it in the last couple of weeks, going directly after the Latino vote. This is going to be a big relief, obviously, to Mayor Villaraigosa of Los Angeles, Senator Dianne Feinstein of San Francisco. They were all in the Clinton camp. And the big question was, would younger, more generational voters swarm to the Obama camp, with Maria Shriver, the First Lady, our former colleague here, coming out for Obama, Caroline Kennedy campaigning up and down the state, Senator Ted Kennedy going out there as well. It's not been a great night for Senator Kennedy, I must say. He made a big effort in California. He loses there, and he loses in his home state of Massachusetts, as did Senator Kerry. With their alignment with the Obama campaign, they lose both those states to Senator Hillary Clinton.
But, Tom, regarding those delegates again, and obviously the Obama people will come back if the numbers are favorable to them, and the Clinton people will double their emphasis on California if the numbers are favorable to them. With the apportionment process in California, with 241 of them being proportional by district and 129 of the delegates being proportional by state totals, the absolute measure of that victory for Hillary Clinton is really not ascertainable until we get the full count in, correct?
Yeah, may I just read to you, even in our guide for ourselves, it seems to me that it's quantum physics in California. A 15% threshold, 241 proportional by county, of which there are 54.
Tom, I'm going to interrupt you.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to interrupt you because we have the California projection. That is John McCain's California Republican victory has been projected by NBC News. The early vote count at 15% was suggesting it. It is a considerable margin given the three-horse race that is there. 44% at 15% voted in. John McCain and Hillary Clinton are the winners in California. We are not staying up all night for this. The victory to McCain projected by NBC News at this point.
Bi-coastal power tonight for McCain.
So this is not, and that is not a state, by the way, Chris, that has the Atlantic Ocean anywhere on it. I used to live there, nowhere near it.
No, you know, the great line in California is, Chris, when the big earthquake comes, California will remain stable. The rest of the country will slide into the Atlantic. That was what they'd always say in California. And tonight, the rest of the country has slid into the Atlantic for Mitt Romney. It seems to me that it's going to be hard for him to survive this, having lost in California by what appears to be a pretty substantial margin, given the amount of money that he spent there and the amount of effort that he made there. But when John McCain got the endorsement of Arnold Schwarzenegger and began to go up and down the state without spending quite as much money as Romney.
And one more, Tom, the apparent winner, that's our terminology in Missouri, is John McCain. This is a big 5 minutes for the senator from Arizona. That's our terminology, our NBC News terminology, because 98% of the vote is in, and he leads Governor Huckabee by, what is that, just over 8,500 votes. 8515. Am I doing my math at this hour correctly off the top of my head?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, 8515, 98% in, and it seems to be a mathematical impossibility for the leadership to change. Thus, that phraseology, apparent winner in Missouri in an extraordinarily tight race. So we give to John McCain, Missouri and California, and that certainly eliminates any prospect that this night would end with anybody but John McCain in the leadership of the Republican Party.
And the number 2 man in the race appears to be Mike Huckabee at this point. Right. Which is really important.
What do you make? I mean, this is such a hard conversation, Tom, for anybody to have, but, you know, I think about it a lot. Could it be that we have to admit that religion has played a role in this campaign, that Romney's run a strong campaign, he's done pretty well in arguing his case about tax cuts, etc., but when it comes to the cultural front, he has come up against a wall in the Bible Belt. It seems to me that Mike Huckabee, who has not run a dominant campaign, but he's been able to win in his sort of region, his background. He's a Southern Baptist. It seems like, for whatever reason, people in the South, in the evangelical areas, have voted with Huckabee, pretty clearly against the LDS candidate.
Well, but that makes sense to me. I mean, he's a former Baptist preacher. He led the Baptist convention in his home state when he was just 27 years of age. He speaks to them in terms of his beliefs about his faith in God and the place of the Bible and Christianity in the lives of everyday people. I think the tougher question would be, if he had not been in this race, what would have happened to Mitt Romney with the Mormon background. In fact, most of the polls show that a lot of people were still having trouble with someone from the LDS Church being the president of the United States, and he was never able to overcome that obstacle, especially with the Southern evangelicals, but with other people as well, whatever their faith happened to be.
And then, of course, the man in the first presidency, Gordon Hinckley, in the LDS Church, dying this week, and Romney so loyally going out there and paying his respects in a way that highlighted his religious faith. You know, we're going to have to look at this as we go through the autopsy of this campaign, but I really do think Romney's going to have to look at it when he thinks about his second effort, whether it's something that he can resolve in the hearts of the people who stand against him. Don't you think it's a tough challenge for him to decide this thing?
Well, I think it is. We'll wait and see what he decides he wants to do about this cycle, and then whether he wants to go on to the next one. But he's now introduced himself to the country, and the question is, he'll have to make a hard decision about how he wants to present Act 2 of Mitt Romney, if you will, as a presidential candidate. I think it has to happen on two fronts for him. One is the LDS front, and the other one is to demonstrate to people that he is an authentic conservative, not just a conservative of convenience during campaign years.
What do you make about John McCain's thinking tonight? I mean, you know him, we all know him, he's on so many of our programs. We've gotten to know them over the years as a person, and yet he's such a fighter. He's such a force, almost triumph of his will has gotten him this far. And yet he does have to confront a Republican Party he looks out on tonight that has chosen Huckabee over him in the Bible Belt area, that has, in some cases, chosen Romney, although Romney's in a very difficult situation now. There just seems to be a big wall of resistance to him in the party, a maverick, in the Teddy Roosevelt fashion, if you want to make him look more popular than he is among some Republicans. Well, but doesn't it be a challenge for him now?
Well, that's true, and it's not true. I mean, look at his colleagues who have spoken up for him, the Jack Kemps of the world, and Bob Dole writing that letter to Rush Limbaugh. I think he's probably going to have to use some surrogates and fan them out across the country and say, look, at some point we have to decide, in the words of Haley Barbour, about who we're going to back here. And I would guess that that will be part of the strategy of John McCain. When I said to him this morning, when I saw him on the Today Show, I kind of laughed and said, John, you really are a warrior. I didn't call him John, I call him Senator. And he looked at me and he smiled and he said, I'm a happy warrior now, Tom. I'm on my way. And that's kind of who he is. And I think he has to convey that to the rest of the party. He did offend a lot of people, as you know, by putting together the Gang of 14 on the Hill, banging away at his Senate colleagues for the way they spent money, as he described it, like drunken sailors. But at some point, there is a reality that he could very well be their nominee, and they're going to have to decide whether they want to walk away from him or make an effort to hang on to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
With the reference to Happy Warrior, I was just thinking somewhere Senator Humphrey would like to reply, but we don't have the means of doing that. Tom, stand by for a second. We're going to bring in David Gregory on this, too. That moment of silence in the middle of the McCain speech when he invoked Governor Romney's name, Chris pointed out, and I'm wondering what your thoughts were, that may have been the olive branch from McCain to Romney, saying, here's the soft landing, Governor, if you'd like to take it. What do you think?
Yeah, well, and I think that one of the things that we've seen tonight is the prospect for Governor Huckabee in what still may be a fight for second place with Mitt Romney by the time the contest is over in terms of delegates, but in terms of regional appeal, in terms of his performance among conservatives, especially in the southern part of the country, that he becomes part of the solution for John McCain to unite the party. I spoke to a Republican today who said that's one of the three directions that McCain can take to actually unite the party, which is to choose a running mate who can actually shore up some of these concerns on the right that so many have with John McCain. Nevertheless, we saw Mitt Romney, particularly in the western states, the Rocky Mountain West and California, with so much emphasis there on the part of his campaign, doing well with conservatives. But by the end of the night, we see John McCain winning the big contest here and in a very commanding position.
The jury is still out for the Missouri Democrats. We're still waiting on that one. We have projected Hillary Clinton to win in California, David, and that's with that being so close in Missouri and certainly not decisive in terms of momentum. They're both, Clinton and Obama, are clearly going to claim, as now Barack Obama has a whopping 4,600 vote lead with 98% of the vote in Missouri. They're both going to claim momentum. Who has the right to claim more momentum coming out of Super Tuesday?
Well, that's going to be something that'll be debated, and the two sides will spin this. I think you can look across the board and say, where were the surprises tonight? Connecticut went for Barack Obama. That was a surprise. But you have to say that Hillary Clinton held her ground. And some of the key areas. Look at California, the Hispanic vote, the Latino vote. Tom has been out there reporting on this extensively. Very high, higher than the statewide average, I think 26%. You also had lower than expected African-American turnout. It was about average from what it's been in California. So she held that ground. We want to see how New Mexico comes in. That's where the Latino vote is important as well. She held that ground, and this momentum that Barack Obama seemed to have had of late certainly didn't overcome Clinton's advantages in states like Massachusetts, New Jersey, and California. You look at the exit polling, a lot of people voted early. A lot of people made up their mind a long time ago before we saw this movement on the Obama side.
I think you have to look at the polling, everybody, that's been going on now for a couple of weeks, where there's a tightening of dramatic proportions. Hillary Clinton enjoying something like a 20-point advantage over Barack Obama just a couple of weeks ago, and watching that shrink to basically nothing as we speak right now, and most of the polling within the margin of error right now. And you have to wonder whether her ability to claim that she held her ground tonight and carried California, which was a significant victory for her, a triumph, in fact, against the challenge by Barack Obama, if that's enough to sort of thwart what seems to be a serial trend, a continual trend towards Barack Obama of the last several months. David Gregory, it just seems to me that that's something that, you know, the old rule of physics is something remains in motion unless operated on by some outside force. Was tonight an outside force that could thwart that serial trend towards Obama, not just in fundraising and not just in enthusiasm of crowds, but in the national polling?
Well, if he has the ability with enough money to make this a war of attrition and to keep a real fight going for delegates, then maybe he can build on whatever he's been building over the past few days. But certainly at the tactical level, what does Hillary Clinton do? She, as Tom pointed out, she wants to have more debates coming up. She wants to really drill home what the contrast is in this contest. And then she looks ahead to the Latino vote in states like Texas coming up on March the 4th, where she's got a kind of built-in advantage.
Paul, I think debates can influence the trend lines. There's no doubt about it.
All right. Thank you, Tom Brokaw. Thank you, David Gregory. We'll check back with you again in the immediate future. Up next, more from the exit polling on why Californians voted for Hillary Clinton, our projected winner there among the Democrats. Plus, we continue to await results in the remarkably tight Missouri Democratic primary. Also, the Colorado Republican caucus. You're watching MSNBC's live coverage of Super Tuesday, except it's already Wednesday here on the East Coast. So the latest headlines out of Super Tuesday turning into Super Tuesday Plus on Wednesday in the East. John McCain is going to win California among the Republicans. He is the apparent winner in Missouri in an extraordinarily tight race that is mirrored by an extraordinarily tight race among the Democrats that we have not yet called at 98% of the vote, with Obama slightly ahead. The California verdict, which some thought would keep us up all night, has been declared by NBC News. Hillary Clinton will win California. The early vote totals suggested substantially. And again, the Democrats not yet called in Missouri. That's the late big one. There are several still in play. But now we're getting developments out of the Romney campaign tonight in Boston. A crucial night for the Romney campaign, and some breaking news out of NBC's John Yang, who's been covering all night. John?
Keith, this has been a crucial night and a disappointing night for the Romney campaign. Those last two calls that NBC made, losing California, losing Missouri, are big blows to this campaign. And now a senior campaign official has told NBC News that tomorrow will be a day of frank discussions on the campaign. Mr. Romney was already scheduled to be in the headquarters office here in Boston for a day of meetings, and now those meetings are taking on new significance. This official tells NBC News that the Thursday speech before CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Committee, is still on the schedule, but a visit to Kansas on Friday ahead of caucuses there on Saturday is now in doubt. So, Keith, they say that they are going to have some serious discussions tomorrow about the future of this campaign. John Yang on frank discussions at the Romney camp in Boston. Thanks much, John. All right, let's get the exit polling. Ann Curry is tracking our late waves of exit polling. Ann, good morning.
Well, good morning. Thanks so much, Keith. We've got significant new numbers now that might help explain Hillary Clinton's win in California. Our polling found that women made up 55% of all Democratic primary voters, and among those women, Hillary Clinton enjoyed a double-digit victory. Take a look at this. She won 57% of Democratic women compared to Obama's 39%. Obama also had the male Democratic vote in California, but by a smaller margin. And Clinton also won a majority of Hispanic voters, with 65% to 34% for Barack Obama. Now remember that Hispanics are considered a key to victory not only in California, but also in November, Keith. We also have some numbers that might help explain John McCain's victory. Remember that Republicans in California are much more moderate than in other states. Well, McCain took those moderates by a large margin today, according to our polling. And in addition, as you know, he had the support of California's popular Republican governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger, by 2/3 of California voters. 65% approve of the job that the governor is doing. And among those who approve the job the governor is doing, John McCain won with 49% to Mitt Romney's 29%. So these have been very big prizes tonight for both John McCain and Hillary Clinton, Keith.
Indeed they have, Ann. Great thanks. All right, now to our panel, Nora O'Donnell, who's taking over there. We've got two topics for you. You can pick where you want to go. Frank discussions, which is not the name of a Romney advisor, or California Hispanics, 65-34 Clinton. Your choice.
I choose to start with frank discussions. The panel agrees here. Let's talk about the state of the Republican race. Clearly a big win in California for John McCain. I had been speaking with some people close to the Romney campaign who said, well, we may win California, and with Huckabee winning the South, we could still fight on. John Yang reporting tonight that there are going to be frank discussions tomorrow. Pat Buchanan, does this mean this race is going to get much smaller on the Republican side tomorrow?
I don't believe Romney. I mean, my guess would be that he's not going to pull out. After all, what do you win? Montana, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Utah, maybe Colorado, and North Dakota.
But he lost Missouri and California.
He lost Missouri, and he lost Georgia, West Virginia, and California. Those are very big where he thought he might do well.
Someone said to me today, you cannot win the Republican nomination without winning the South, or Romney can't claim to be the true conservative without winning in the South.
Well, the South is no doubt, but Huckabee has won all the South, but he's only got one more state to win down there. Mississippi, it's all gone. The question is, can he, if he gets the ultimate one-on-one with McCain he's wanted, can he do well when McCain has beaten him in Missouri and McCain's beaten him in California? And should he go on and do that? My own feeling is that Romney sees himself not only as a potential candidate this year, a long shot now, but a potential candidate 4 years from now. And if you are, then you stop going tough and rough, and you may continue on, but you pull down any negative ad, and you try to consolidate the conservatives behind you, go into the convention, endorse, get a major speech, something like that, and see what happens. Clearly, there's bad blood between Romney and the McCain forces.
You think McCain's going to allow Romney to speak at his convention?
Well, if he did not allow him, that would be an act of total stupidity. Somebody who's got the support, and when McCain is disliked as he is by conservatives, to stiff someone at your own convention?
You can't bring in Mitt Romney as to prove your bona fides to conservatives, though. I mean, Mitt Romney has a lot of his own baggage in terms of not seeming like a real conservative. What does Mitt Romney have to offer the electorate at this point? He's winning Mormon states and all of his home states.
You don't offer the electorate anything. You offer McCain, you say, I'm going to endorse you and I'll work for you, and I'll work for the party, and all you get is a speech at the convention. It's a very small price to ask.
His endorsement comes with, like, his sons will work on his campaign. They'll drive a Winnebago for him,
Gene,
too.
the headline, of course, in the newspapers is going to be John McCain wins on both coasts.
Right.
The East and California. Is he unstoppable?
Big wins. I don't see who stops him at this point. It's not quite over yet, simply because the Republican Party is so split this year, and John McCain is such a controversial figure. And, you know, as Pat was saying, a lot of the conservatives aren't yet ready to swallow hard and accept John McCain. Until that happens, you can't say it's really over. I just don't know who beats him.
How many conservatives are popping pills tonight, going to bed with Ambien because they or Tums for heartburn?
My guess is, see, what McCain ought to do too. He made a mistake getting up there and coming right back in Romney's face. Say, act like a front runner. Let him take the heat. Let him drop it on you. Okay, fellas, I understand the angst, the concern. But I mean, he's still fighting.
Well, that's kind of John McCain, though. That's one of the issues about John McCain.
He did make some nice noises toward Mitt Romney here, but in terms of the issues and in terms of what this means outside the horse race, I think Republicans and the pundit world made a big mistake when we decided that it was going to be Mitt Romney who was going to get the votes of the people who cared about economic issues, because he was a guy who had a lot of money personally. Turns out that on economic issues, maybe a lot of Republicans wanted to vote for Mike Huckabee. Maybe Mitt Romney saying he was in the private equity world didn't feel like the real economy.
You got to raise the Mormon thing. Why? I mean, one problem they had is McCain and Romney were at each other, and that opened the door in Georgia and places like that for Huckabee. But you got to ask yourself, why in some of these other cases didn't these Southerners move to Romney? And I got to think you're going to have to poll deeply on the Mormon thing in the South.
I don't think it's I think you got to look at the attacks made against Romney on the economic issue. That was his big strength. And I think that when he said, I'm in the real economy, I'm in the real American economy, I've worked there, a lot of people said, private equity, Bain Capital, really? Is that the real economy? It's not the one that I feel like I'm suffering in.
All right, we're going to wrap it up, but we still have a lot to talk about, certainly on the Democratic side, because Hillary Clinton has scored two big victories tonight. California, New York, the two richest states. And we're still waiting on Missouri. We all want to talk about Missouri. So
Missouri's looking really tight.
Yeah, so we'll send it back to Chris and Keith.
Thank you, Nora. In a moment, we're going to give you a full look at the delegate count as best we can count it up right now at this point in the evening. But first, let's go to two of the warring sides on the Democratic side. Jay Carson's a traveling press secretary with Senator Clinton's campaign, and Senator Claire McCaskill herself is backing Barack Obama. Senator McCaskill, it's very hard not to see something like a tie tonight. How do you see it?
I think a tie, but the tie goes, I think, to Barack Obama. I mean, this was supposed to be over tonight. This was a foregone conclusion. And the idea that we're talking about Hillary Clinton winning New York and California as news says a whole lot. Missouri, as you can see, is still very, very close. I believe there's a decent chance that, as Missouri usually does, we'll decide it late. But I think he's going to overcome a 13-point lead like a week ago to win Missouri. It is a remarkable journey Barack Obama is on behalf of the American people.
Jay Carson, is it true that your campaign thought you could wrap it up tonight?
No, I think no one thought we would wrap it up tonight as of 6 weeks ago. Everyone knew this race was going to be tightening, and I seem to remember reading a lot of clips yesterday and even this morning about an unstoppable surge and momentum that we would just not be able to overcome. We won a lot of the states that we were supposed to lose today, and I think that Hillary Clinton's a lot closer to the nomination tonight than she was this morning when we woke up. A broad coalition of voters across the country. We've won a lot of places. We've had a great night. We feel great about it.
What do you make of the national polling numbers, Jay, that seem to be moving relentlessly toward Obama if you look at it over time?
Well, I'll just say, you know, we always knew this race was going to be tight. We've been saying for a long time that we thought the nomination would be much tougher than the general election. That's proven to be true, but we feel great about where we are. We knew it was going to be close, and what's important is who we're winning and who has the most delegates, and we feel great about how we've done tonight.
Smart to say that. Let's take a look right now. We've got a call right now on the Republican side. Mitt Romney has won in Colorado tonight. Another victory for Romney. Perhaps not a big enough victory. Let me go right back now to Claire McCaskill. Senator, thank you for joining and sticking with us. Let me ask you about the future course of this campaign. Give me the case why all we know tonight, as of right now, and all that happened before tonight, says that your candidate's going to win the Democratic nomination for president, Barack Obama.
Well, the American people are just really beginning to get acquainted with the depth of his intellect, with the soaring vision he has for how we can be admired in the world again, and frankly, the young people. I mean, Chris, this is real, what's going on in our country. The young people signing up in droves, believing in participation again. This is a unique opportunity for our country, and it would be a terrible shame to miss this opportunity. And the next 6 primaries, I think, really favor Barack Obama. So for the next 2 weeks, I think he is going to continue to build steam and momentum. The American people are going to get more familiar with him, and they love the independent voter. Missouri is all about the independent voter.
I have good news for you, Senator McCaskill. It looks like that NBC now is calling your candidate, Barack Obama, the winner in your state.
Apparent winner.
Apparent winner, meaning we haven't gotten all the numbers in yet, but we're using that category to describe, I believe, the victory in apparent victory of Barack Obama in Missouri. We've only used it in one other case tonight. Let me ask you, what's that mean to the campaign?
It means a lot. You know, we usually win elections after midnight in Missouri. They're hard fought, they're close. But it means he's going to, if you look at Kansas and Missouri and what's happened, and Nebraska on Saturday, you know, this is middle America. This isn't, you know, the far coast. This is the middle of America, both in terms of where it's located and their politics. The fact that he is doing so well in middle America speaks volumes as to how well he's going to do as this race continues.
Okay, given the same news report from us that we're declaring Barack Obama the apparent winner in the fight in Missouri tonight, Jay Carson, tell us, just give me the same question I put to Senator McCaskill. Draw the picture based upon what we know from tonight and earlier from tonight. And looking down the road, how does Hillary Clinton win the nomination?
Well, I think for starters, Chris, the last I checked, Tennessee, Arkansas, and Oklahoma are not exactly coastal states. Though we did win a lot of states on the coast, including New York, New Jersey, and California, which have a lot of delegates. But look, here's the thing. The American people are answering 2 simple questions. Who is going to be the best president and who can win in November? And they're resoundingly answering those questions with Hillary Clinton because they need a president. This country is facing big challenges. They can't take a chance on someone who's not ready to lead on day one. Senator Clinton is ready to lead on day one, and that's why we're seeing people coming her way.
Are you surprised that Barack Obama has unleashed the war in Iraq issue in the last several days, starting in the last debate?
You know, it is the foundation for his campaign, a speech that he gave in 2002, though he didn't really act on it when he came to the Senate. So, no, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that he would go back to that and hammer us on it. And I would say that it's an audacious attack, but it's certainly not hopeful.
Keith.
Yeah, Senator McCaskill, one last question, just because I don't know the last time I heard someone directly answer that construction from the Clinton campaign. Is there an argument to be made here that Senator Obama would not be ready to go from day one as President of the United States?
Keith, I'll just say that Senator Clinton is ready to lead on day one. There's absolutely no question about that.
No.
There's just no question. She's ready to lead on day one.
Forgive me, Jay. I was asking Senator McCaskill that question.
I think that, you know, I don't agree with all of Ted Kennedy's policies, but if there's anyone that's in a position to pass judgment on who is ready to do the job, this is a man who's worked with more presidents than I certainly have ever met in my life, and he's had a front row seat at the precipice of government. He has said to the country, this man is ready. He has said he is ready on day one, and more importantly, he has the right mindset and the right judgment on day one.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us, Jay Carson. It's great to have. Okay, we now declare Alaska Dem. Hold on, everybody. We want to give Jay and Senator Barack Obama has won in Alaska. Well, at that moment, we will let both Jay Carson go for the night and Senator McCaskill go. Another victory for Barack Obama in Alaska tonight. And once again, an apparent winner there, Alaska. Anyway, when we return, the latest on the delegate count, which we've been really trying to get together tonight, Chuck Todd's going to be joining us right now to try to put together the significance of all these state calls we've been giving you hour by hour since early this evening. But what do they add up to? It's about delegates. We'll give you that report when we come back, so don't go to bed yet. This is MSNBC's live coverage of Super Tuesday.
Barack Obama, the apparent winner in Missouri. We've used that term twice tonight, both in Missouri or Missouri, depending on which half of the state you're in at the moment. This is not so much political projections, not so much exit polls, but simple mathematics and logic. There are so many votes already officially counted, 98% in among the Democrats, that the odds against, say, the next or the last 5,000, 6,000 votes all going for one candidate are astronomical. This is essentially a mathematical, okay, I've explained this too much, haven't I? 2% to go, Obama's ahead. We're saying it is a virtual victory already. So that's the way the Democratic field looks tonight. We are awaiting the Democratic results from New Mexico and the Republican results from Alaska. Everything else is already in the books, as Super Tuesday got right to it, comparatively speaking, given that it's only 47 minutes past 9 o'clock Pacific time. Chuck Todd, NBC News political director, has been in front of the delegate count all night, and this is, although this is not the glamour, yay, win the pennant, throw the flag around kind of thing that the candidates and their spokesmen have been saying all night. This is what counts, Chuck. What's the latest? Well, it's interesting. We're basically waiting on final counts out of 2 states with the estimates, and that's New Mexico and California. New Mexico, they had a bunch of weather problems. Throw in the fact that apparently they ran out of ballots. It's gonna take all night before we figure out New Mexico, but it appears to be close, and we think we have an idea. So before I got into those counts, the question was, where did it stand? And Obama had approximately 659 delegates to Hillary Clinton's 623. So the question is, what was Clinton going to need to sort of win this idea where she can win the most delegates for the night, and really what's going to happen coming out of California? The Obama people believe she's going to net no more than 15. The Clinton people say, that's not right. We're going to net anywhere from 29 to 34. Well, I had a little fun with this, and I did the math, and I gave the Clintons their 34. I split New Mexico 14-12 in favor of Obama. He seems to win all these semi-caucus states. It's going to be very close, so you split it 14-12. That gives me for the night, guys, 841 for Obama, 837 for Clinton. So that's the delegate split that we're looking at, and it could be literally right down the middle. It's at a knife's edge, depending on how well does Clinton do in Los Angeles. Does she win some delegate splits in some Latino districts by bigger numbers than they expected? It really depends on a lot. The Obama people really believe that they are going to end up with the delegate lead tonight. But come on, when you're doing this, and trust me, I think I have my own margin of error here. It ended up a split. We're going to have a split decision tonight. Throw in the superdelegates. Clinton does have an advantage there. She's going to be able to come out tomorrow and say, I'm leading in the fight for delegates. What is the plus or minus in your calculations? The plus or minus, I feel at this point, because of California, is probably 10 on either side. I mean, depends on what, like I said, the Obama people believe they're going to get as much as 176. They will hold Clinton under 200 delegates out of California. The Clinton people obviously believe they are going to get over 200 delegates. We'll see. So I think that that's where my big margin of error in this comes in. But still, when you, okay, go to 10, 847, 831. I mean, this was still a split decision tonight. It really did split right down the middle. They split the swing states, Connecticut and Missouri going in Obama's direction, California and Arizona going in Clinton's direction. It's Pennsylvania, April 22nd. Indiana is in May 6th. Get ready for Indiana. North Carolina's in May. So, hey, you know, Denver. Don't forget Denver. Denver. That little polling they might do in Denver.
Democrats abroad. The Clinton campaign was telling me they actually did phone banking to America's Samoa tonight because they're hoping to get a 2-1 split out of there. So every delegate matters, guys.
So there's the Chuck Todd number for tonight, +4. Thanks, Chuck.
Yeah, I thought I'd do that. Thought I'd be helpful.
It is guidance. Newsweek's Howard Fineman at our campaign listening post in Washington. One number that is not +4, Howard, money from here on in. Maybe you want to give us the latest on the war chest and the dollars and the groaning coffers.
Sure. But before I do, can I just say that was a tour de force by Chuck. Yeah. That is the hardest thing in the world to do. And that's where it's at, but money is also where it's at. Obama's advantage in fundraising is going to continue. I think they're on target, they tell me, to raise as much money in February as they did in January, which could be another $30 million. And they think they've got Hillary Clinton where they want her because of that financial advantage. Because in the states that are coming up, Louisiana, Nebraska, Washington, Chuck knows the list, then the Potomac primary next week, then Wisconsin, and so on down the line, the Obama people are going to have a chance with their financial advantage to buy advertising, to put volunteers in those states, to really organize and focus in a way that in this giant Super Tuesday they could not. Meanwhile, on the Republican side, somebody like Mike Huckabee, who is flat broke and, as others were saying, is flying coach and so forth, I'm told that today he had a day-long, his staff had a day-long meeting with some real fat cats. You know, they're actually knocking on Huckabee's door right now. He's going to have some big funders out of Texas and Florida, and he's going to have some real money. He raised about $300,000, which is huge money for him yesterday. Probably, I bet, $500,000 today based on these results. So now, with Mitt Romney looking seriously at the possibility of closing his own wallet, and maybe even closing shop, it's Huckabee who's going to get some cash to continue in whatever kind of fight he wants to bring against John McCain in the next few weeks.
All right, well, this begs the question about tonight and Super Tuesday and all the trends that we're suggesting that Obama, as he did in many places, even the ones he did not win, closed considerable gaps. We'll go back to our favorite bone of contention, Massachusetts, where he was polling at 22% before something interesting happened, and then he finished at about 40% tonight. How much time can you buy with how much money? Because clearly, whatever that incredible monetary advantage was, 32 million to 13.5 or so for Clinton in January, it did not buy them enough time in all these critical places tonight where Barack Obama did not vault Hillary Clinton and was able to hold up a prize and say, look, I have taken this, I drink your milkshake, to use the quote from There Will Be Blood. How much money can you, how much time can you buy with how much money?
Well, you can buy them, especially in the smaller states. What Obama's strategy was tonight, or today, was to use his financial advantage and his organizational grassroots advantage. They've got their own self-made, terrific organization, was to focus on these smaller states and caucus states where some money and some organization from the grassroots up can really get you delegates. I mean, they ended up winning the majority of the states tonight. They won 13 states, and they get a lot of delegates out of it. Now you spread that out across the country in some of these individual states where they're spaced out 4, 5, 6 days at a time. Obama can pursue that same strategy state by state and place by place. And they're right. Generally speaking, where he has time to get in front of the people, where he has time to advertise and to do the phone banking, he comes on strong. That's what their strategy is. That's what their strategy in the Obama campaign has been all along. And that's what they're going to pursue right now. You know, we've kind of shifted back and forth tonight between looking at Obama's advantages to looking at Hillary holding serve, as Gene Robinson said earlier. I think that was true. But I think in the end, if you look at this, if you look at it carefully, Obama's in quite a good position to take advantage of the next month or so. It's going to be grinding. It's going to be day by day and dollar by dollar. But, you know, he's got a chance to take the delegate lead and pledge delegates if he doesn't already have it tonight as a result of the vote.
I mean, this could look, Howard, like Bobby Kennedy if you projected his destiny if he had not been assassinated right through 1968 at the convention. Everyone said, our age used to say, well, he'll go to Chicago and he'll beat Humphrey in Chicago, but yet he was fighting on behalf of delegates won in primaries against delegates won by machines in backroom, smoke-filled rooms. But can Barack Obama get these super delegates to vote the way that their states voted?
Well, that's possible. I mean, right now, Hillary has an advantage of 80 or 90 among the super delegates. Don't forget that all members of Congress, Democrats in Congress, are super delegates. That's about 225 or, you know, so he's going to focus on them. He's going to focus on them.
Howard Fineman, great thanks. We continue to await the results in the New Mexico caucus. We'll have much more right after this break. Again, a Chuck Todd number. 841 projected delegates for Obama, 837 for Clinton. Big night. Super Tuesday is almost completely in the books, and the big ones have gone, well, to pretty much everybody. If you thought it would be over tonight, it is not. Keep your belts and your seat belts fastened for several weeks to come yet. Let's go run the table here. From the Democrats first, California. This is projected to be Hillary Clinton's victory, and the early percentages with a fifth of the vote in suggested it will be a large one in a heavy 370 delegate state. In New York, the other coast, Hillary Clinton, the projected winner, and now we're 1% away from that being official and final at about 17% a margin. In Illinois, Barack Obama's obviously home turf, a double-digit victory there, a doubling victory, almost 64-33, with 6% still to go among the Dems there. New Jersey Democrats, this was fought over. It was thought to be in play. It looks now like a Hillary Clinton 10% victory in New Jersey. To Massachusetts, this, of course, the Kennedys, John Kerry, Governor Patrick, all coming out for Senator Obama, and the lead was narrowed considerably. Hillary Clinton still wins by 15% in Massachusetts. Georgia, the NBC News projection there has been from the beginning of the evening a thunderous victory for Barack Obama, and a lot of delegates in that count, too. It'll probably be 60-27 when that one is counted up officially. Missouri, extraordinary tight. Both Missouri races, the Republicans and the Democrats, extraordinarily tight. As you see, it will be several thousand votes. Barack Obama is the projected winner now in Missouri. In Minnesota, also the victory there in the caucus at a 2-to-1 ratio for Senator Obama, one of his virtual home territories. Tennessee tonight for the Democrats. 99% of the vote in, that one being given to Hillary Clinton early in the evening, and a 13% margin with almost all the vote in. Arizona going to Senator Clinton in a fairly tight race, but again, we have still 1/3 to count in Arizona among the Democrats. Continuing through the Democrats and Alabama, Barack Obama with a significant win there with almost the entirety of the vote in, over 300,000 in the Democratic primary in Alabama. Connecticut, which was in play and certainly turned out to be in play. Senator Obama with a 4% victory over Senator Clinton with virtually the entire vote in. In Oklahoma, a clean victory for Senator Clinton by 24% or more. That one now is a final, and we'll just wait for the actual vote totals. Arkansas, formerly the first lady of that state, Senator Clinton with a terrific and large victory over Senator Obama there. Alaska, Senator Obama with, again, a marvelously large victory. The projection suggests that, but then if you total up the number of votes here, perhaps it's not as thunderous as it seems. 176-66. It all counts. Kansas is a final and a significant victory for Senator Obama, again there, by 74%. Essentially 3/4 of that vote with 2% outstanding. Utah, as we continue to finish off the Democrats here, Senator Obama with a coasting victory in Utah with 8% still outstanding. Idaho, the caucus there, again, he did very well in the caucus states throughout the West, and Idaho no exception, basically 80% of that vote with 10% unreported. Delaware, Senator Obama's victory there over Senator Clinton with 100% of the vote in. That one is a final. And North Dakota, again, another caucus state in the near West, 61% to 37%. New Mexico is at this point too close to call, or too early to call, because only 1% of the vote is in. Too early to call. That is the one to stay up and watch. So that count right now among the Democrats is Obama 13 victories all told tonight. Hillary Clinton 8 victories and 1 still outstanding in New Mexico. The Republicans, it was John McCain's night. The major victories all went to him, including the big one, the big enchilada. Sorry for the cliche. California is his. Mitt Romney second there, one of his strongest finishes in head-to-head battles with McCain, and Huckabee third. In New York, also John McCain by a almost identical margin with 99% of the vote in. McCain wins New York for the Republicans. The Georgia Republicans, Mike Huckabee, in an extraordinarily close vote that was a three-way race, as you see. It will end up in just a few thousands separating these three candidates. Illinois, John McCain with a significant victory over Romney, and Huckabee a distant third, that one with 6% of the vote still outstanding. Arizona, John McCain's own state that he has represented in the Senate for a quarter of a century, and he wins by 13 percentage points, with Huckabee taking 9% in third place. Tennessee is almost all in, 99%, and a sizable win for Huckabee over McCain by 3% there. Missouri, the other way around, again. It could not have been much closer than this, with 1% left and an 8,000 vote victory for John McCain. Romney a somewhat distant third, but still in the running there, somewhat distant being relative in that case. New Jersey, no relativity required, Mr. Einstein. McCain over Romney by nearly double. In Colorado, Romney over McCain. Romney over the field by nearly double, with 3/4 of that vote still in. Your Alabama projected winner with 99% in and almost no chance of anything going wrong. One of his 5 big victories tonight, Governor Huckabee of Arkansas. Massachusetts, where Mitt Romney served 1 term as governor, preceding the current governor. 51% of the vote, only a 10% victory over McCain, so the 2 candidates not really thundering in their home states, McCain or Romney. This is Minnesota, three-fourths of the vote in, and again, Mitt Romney a victor here. 6 big victories for Romney tonight. Oklahoma, McCain in a tight battle with Huckabee there in that belt of support for Huckabee, and Romney a strong third. That vote is final. Utah, 92%. That is Mitt Romney's territory, and it was all his. This is the place. 225,000 to less than 15,000. The Arkansas final, not yet there, but it will be Huckabee, his own area, obviously governor of that state, and a popular one while there. 60% of the vote in Arkansas for Mike Huckabee. Connecticut, almost complete, and a McCain sweep over Romney, a territorial loss for McCain, for Romney, if you will. North Dakota, 100% of the vote in, and Romney is the victor there, handily over John McCain, with Ron Paul showing up for the only time on one of the front leaderboards. And in Delaware, 100% now in, that's John McCain's. Alaska, with 26 proportional delegates, has not yet been assigned, characterized. We don't have any vote totals. We're just waiting on Alaska. So there they are. The Democrats still in New Mexico to be decided. The Republicans in Alaska. McCain with a large sweep of victories around the country in various locales. Huckabee getting significant support in the South.
Wow. I guess what's coming now, Keith, is the side war over what really happened tonight. I think we're going to see a lot of claim and a lot of spin and a lot of flackery, as we like to say in journalism, from both sides. Let's go to the correspondents right now to start cutting through some of that that's coming, starting with David Schuster in Chicago at Obama headquarters. It just seems to me, David, you and I work together all the time. 13 wins tonight for Obama. If you had said 2 weeks ago that California was going to be a tough call for Hillary, or that these states like Connecticut would be taken from her, it just seems to me that over time, it's a big victory for Obama, even though he didn't quite blow her away tonight.
No, Chris, I absolutely agree. In fact, the Obama campaign is elated with how this went, because all along they have said, look, if we can get a draw on Super Tuesday, if we can get close in the delegate counts, we can make this a war of attrition, and with the financial edge that we have, we can start to wear Hillary Clinton down. And the other thing that a draw does, Chris, is that it freezes some of those delegates, the super delegates. There's some 400 that are still out there that have not committed yet.
Right.
It essentially freezes them in their tracks, because they want to see now, well, what's going to happen now in Washington State, in Louisiana, in Nebraska, and then in Washington, D.C., and Virginia and Maryland. These are all places where the Obama campaign is already running ads. They believe that the more time they can invest in these states, their numbers go up, and they keep talking about Hillary Clinton being at a ceiling. So they're going back to a battleground they like, and that is a couple of states at a time, as opposed to having to deal with all 20 like they had to deal with today.
So Chris, it puts them in the position perhaps of winning most of the elected delegates and being able to argue as we get closer to the end of this cycle, or the end of this season, that how dare the superdelegates deny the elected delegates their majority.
Yeah, Chris, they can make the argument that, look, we did not get beaten badly on Super Tuesday. We are very much alive, and we're starting to rise in the numbers in some of these states. And what it essentially does is it freezes a lot of people in their tracks, and it extends this campaign to sort of the calendar that the Obama campaign believes is extremely favorable to them.
While you're out there, David, I want you to get Barack Obama to come on Hardball in our studios in Washington.
Oh, we're trying.
We're working in the region. I mean, he's going to work Virginia and Maryland and D.C. You ought to be able to stop by for a real visit. We'll have some tea for him, perhaps some crumpets. Be a nice sort of hour for him. Anyway, it'd be nice for him to come by anyway. I mean that. We have to start using the stick to get some action here. Anyway, David, you're the stick. My friend, bring him in. Anyway, thank you, David Schuster. Now to NBC's Kevin Corke, who's covering the Clinton campaign in New York. Kevin, how do we do this? How do we decide whose side war is winning here? It looked to me, if you looked at the delegate count, the brilliant effort by our friend Chuck Todd tonight, I mean, look how he sliced it right down. He was like Sweeney Todd, right down the middle. What do you make of that? Well, how does either side claim victory now?
Jump right out, AJ.
Yeah, no, it was kind of a weird night. Let's face it, it was almost as if there were like victory parties all over the place. I mean, Mike Huckabee was celebrating, John McCain was celebrating, Hillary Clinton was celebrating, Barack Obama. It was kind of a bizarre night, to be honest with you, but I think here at least, campaign staffers for the Clinton campaign told me, look, we knew that as long as we were in the mix in the places where we really focused, New York, California, they'd be just fine. I do think if they were privately to talk to you off the record, they would say, yeah, we're probably a little disappointed because they're going to look tomorrow and they're worried about the headlines. They've been saying to me all day long, Chris, that it seems as if we, the press, are enamored with this story, this Barack Obama story, this sort of Cinderella story, if you will. I'm going to be careful in the way I phrase that because we know what can happen with that.
Well, we are in the news business, and he's new. Really that's why we like him. He's
absolutely.
New.
He's fresh. He's new. He's different. Absolutely. And she's sort of a throwback to the past, even if it is a recent past. But one of the things stands out to me, Chris, and that's this. When you look at the numbers, and we've been watching what Chuck and his staff have been doing all night long, the Politico also, it's going to be tight moving forward. The folks here say it's all about momentum. Nothing was decided tonight. They feel good about where they are. But I think privately they would have to admit that they're worried about the narrative after a night like it was tonight for Barack Obama.
Here's the tough question, Kevin, as we look at what everybody's up to tonight. Before we got the results in tonight, the Clinton campaign was putting out the word that they wanted to have a debate a week into the future. If they're happy with the trend of this campaign as it's proceeded on course, why would they want to change that trend by having debates every week? It seems to me they want to get control of that trend.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what they're really saying, without saying it, Chris, is that they love the way Senator Clinton performs in the debates. She's just very, very solid, as you know. If you keep putting it out there, I think their idea is this. They might be able to expose Barack Obama. Maybe he slips up. Maybe he comes across as a lot more liberal. Maybe that makes some independent voters and some Democrats who would be conceived maybe more of the middle-of-the-road Democrat, maybe that makes them nervous. But I'm not so sure that would really be that effective, to be honest with you.
Yes, but for the Clintons, I mean, every time that they have a debate, they give Barack Obama and the moderators and the questioners in the audience a chance one more time to ask Senator Clinton, why did you vote to authorize the war back in 2002? And she has to take a couple of minutes to dig the hole deeper sometimes. Anyway, thank you very much, Kevin Cork with the Clinton campaign. MSNBC's Tucker Carlson's in Phoenix right now covering the McCain campaign. Well, did they do it? Did they drive the stake into the heart of the enemy? Did they end the Romney threat, only to find themselves with a newly emergent Mike Huckabee?
I think they did. I think they did, too. McCain made a real attempt in his speech tonight. He said 3 times, it's not over. We have a long way to go. We have not cinched the nomination. But they believe they have. And you know they believe they have because they said nice things about arch-enemy Mitt Romney. The enmity toward Romney
That's how you know
real.
You killed the guy.
Personal,
you say nice things about him, right?
That's exactly right. When you patronize him. And that's what they did. And McCain said, you know, I respect Senator Romney. And in fact, his lip didn't quiver when he said it. I mean, it seemed almost genuine. And that's really when you know he went out of his way.
Isn't it wonderful, this business, that when you've slain the dragon, then you pay tribute to the dragon, knowing the dragon's no more threat to you. Oh, I love it.
He was a valiant dragon, and he fought a good fight, and you had to kill him in the end.
Okay, thank you, Tucker, for that report. Everybody should get some sleep. Soon tonight, NBC's John Yang is covering the Romney campaign for us up in Boston. Well, it was great to see Bill Weld up there, an extremely popular ex-governor up there. He always has a good time, from what I can tell. Bill Weld up there in the we know what we're talking about. That guy does enjoy life. What do you think? Bill Weld and Romney, is this the last hurrah tonight?
Well, they say that the campaign goes on. Governor Romney in his speech said he's going on to the convention. And Kevin Madden, the campaign spokesman, is underscoring that tonight, that the campaign goes on. But other officials are saying that there will be frank discussions tomorrow. Well, they were going to have to talk about what happens tomorrow. After this loss in California, they were banking everything on that. Tomorrow they're going to sit down, talk about where they go. They will go on to Washington, D.C. on Thursday, where the governor will address the Conservative Political Action Committee. But they say the schedule after that is up in the air.
Will he get a good reception at CPAC, do you think?
It's going to be interesting to see. Remember, he won that straw poll last year at CPAC. John McCain skipped it. Of course, there were a lot of people saying that there was a great deal of organizational effort went into that. It was a poll where you went online and had to register. It'll be interesting to see.
What do you think about spending? There's been a lot of reports trying to figure out exactly how much money Mitt Romney has spent of his own fortune. He has a fortune apparently estimated about $250 million. Is he still spending money at the clip he was a couple of weeks ago?
He's still, well, I can tell you he's still raising money. Before he came and addressed his supporters here, he was next door at the Westin Hotel raising money here from supporters in Massachusetts. I think that they say they're still going on, and that was one indication that they are still looking forward in this campaign.
Keith?
Yeah, just to add to that point, John and Chris, the Washington Post blog has done the calculation on Chris's exact point. It's $1 million a delegate right now. It's $1.16 million, $1,160,000 per delegate for Governor Romney at this point.
That's an expensive pastime. Let's go right now to Norah O'Donnell with the panel, please.
All right, Chris and Keith, thank you very much. And we were talking about the Democratic race. And Pat, do you think the Kennedys helped Obama at all?
Well, they must have helped him some, but it certainly does not look very impressive. I mean, she won Massachusetts, where Kennedy is, and Kerry and Deval Patrick. I think I saw the numbers 57-40, which is something of a rout. Secondly, California, which was where they put their time and effort with Maria Shriver and everything. Hillary Clinton seems to have won it going away, and they were targeting the Hispanic vote, and from what I've seen, the Hispanic vote in California went 65-34 for Clinton. Now, there's no doubt they helped. I don't think they hurt. But it certainly wasn't decisive in any kind of way because they didn't pull anything out.
It wasn't decisive, but they probably did help it, to some extent. I mean, Obama was way behind everywhere a few weeks ago, and he ended up winning, 13 states to her 8 states with one undecided. I got to believe they helped somewhere in
but California and Massachusetts would be the key 2 places.
No, exactly.
Where they were, yeah.
And Massachusetts, you would.
But
I'm sure they helped for.
He may have some bragging rights out of tonight because of those demographics. I mean, it looks like he's still maintaining his lead in terms of men over women voters. It looks like he's still maintaining his lead of black vote Barack Obama.
Oh, Barack's got a lot of arguments.
He's got a lot of arguments.
We were talking about the Kennedys.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. One of the things he's been trying to do is take care of his weaknesses. His weaknesses among female voters and among Latino voters. And it looks like he may have shortened those problems for himself. He may have brought those problems down a notch for himself, even if it didn't help him carry Massachusetts and carry California.
I mean, you got African Americans got 80% in Georgia, and then in white voters, he was 53-44, and that's a dramatic improvement.
The headline, though, I wrote down tonight, though, from the exit polls in terms of the Democratic Party, is we still have a party divided by race and gender on the Democratic side.
Less divided than they were. Barack Obama making up ground among Latinos and among women compared to previous nights.
Yeah, but nationally it's still 20 points. Hillary's got a lead by 20 points on Hispanics.
Right direction against that
look at the African-American vote when you see 80-something to 13
for Barack Obama.
For Hillary Clinton, 13%. And that's the wife of the first black president?
But the most striking thing about the evening to me is Chuck Todd's calculation. 841 delegates for tonight.
Well, that says something very good about Obama, I think, because clearly the surge has brought him right up to parity with Hillary.
Exactly.
And he looks like he's got a good glide path ahead of him, although you got the super delegates. And, of course, when they start seating Michigan and Florida at that convention, it should be very interesting.
But there is logic to the argument that the longer this goes on, given his money advantage and given the fact that he seems to wear well.
He has momentum.
With this race so close, we talked about tonight in terms of perception, especially on the Democratic side. I mean, as Chuck pointed out, Obama may be a couple votes, 5 votes ahead in terms of the delegate race at the end of the night. But is Hillary Clinton going to get the headlines because she won the 2 biggest prizes, New York and California? Of course, Obama got Missouri. He got more states. He got more red states.
I will tell you, I've already written my headline for tomorrow for my radio show on my blog, and my headline is, "This is a tie." This is a tie. You can argue, okay, Clinton got California, but Obama got more states. You can say that she got New Jersey and she got some of the other states that were the big enchiladas, but he got Missouri. Really, it's a tie. You have to go to such lengths to call this anything other than a tie. I ended up averaging their margins of victory in all of the states where we have that. And you could say he got larger margins of victory than she did. But when you have to go to that level of analysis to find an advantage, it's a tie.
I think when you look, I said before the evening started, New Jersey, Missouri, and California, and she won 2 out of 3 of those. And so, and we were talking, we saw some polls today showed Obama ahead by 13 or something in California. And so I looked at the end of the evening when California was in, and if I were the Clinton camp, I would have given a sigh of relief and say we dodged a bullet and we came out okay.
Yeah, but then that bullet hits you when you realize he won 14 states and you only won 13 or 14 and you only won 8 or 9. I mean,
but California and New York are pretty big.
But New York was never in play.
Look, anybody who's seen these two campaigns on the ground can see these are two really good, well put together, professional campaigns with two candidates who are really good at what they do. And the country, you know, Democrats are divided on them, and so they're going to fight it out some more.
Doesn't it look like they almost are going to have to get together if they go down there warring over delegates? I remember the 76 campaign, whatever you say about Ford-Reagan was a close one. Ford wanted Reagan on the ticket. He really wanted him on the ticket, and of course Reagan didn't want to go there. So, but I would think if it gets down to that, and it gets down to delegates in your credentials committee seating Michigan and Florida, people are threatening to walk out. You say, wait a minute, let's pull this together.
That's when the pitchforks and the torches come out, unless you can get together.
We're nowhere near a point where either one, though, is actually ready to say, okay, I'll take that back seat.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they both think they can still win.
Well, I think that's right. I think Hillary's less likely to take the back seat, though, because I think Obama, you always take it. I mean, Rockefeller made that mistake in 1960. He should have taken it. He would have been set for 64. Instead, you know, I'm not standby equipment. You do that, and maybe it passes your by.
You already have Michelle Obama on the record when she was asked if she would support Hillary Clinton as the nominee, saying, well, I'll take a look at it.
Sounds like
there is
McCain.
I would say that Democratic voters are in the same place tomorrow as they were yesterday, which is that they've got two candidates that they like, that have a lot of money, that are electorally viable, and who don't seem to be tearing the party apart.
You know, it does become essentially maybe a question of resources as we battle these last couple of states in this country. And Obama has the resources. All right, guys, thanks so much. And back to you guys, Chris and Keith.
All right, thank you. Coming up, New York Times columnist Bob Herbert. Can't wait to hear what his column's going to say. Plus, what we learned about the Latino vote tonight. And Newsweek's Richard Wolff, he's a smart guy. He's coming here tonight to tell us what it all mattered. You're watching MSNBC live coverage of Super Duper Tuesday.
And although I've never minded the role of the underdog and have relished as much as anyone come from behind wins, tonight I think we must get used to the idea that we are the Republican Party frontrunner for the nomination of President of the United States.
After 7 years of a president who listens only to the special interests, you're ready for a president who brings your voice, your values, and your dreams to your White House.
We rejoin you with MSNBC's live coverage of Super Tuesday, or if you're already in the East Coast, Super Wednesday or Super Tuesday Plus. We've already told you there was voting attempted in Florida tonight. That's how exciting this was, even though the Florida primary was more than a week ago. And we have this from Missouri, where it appears that Barack Obama is going to defeat Hillary Clinton by about 1% or less. This is from the Missouri state statute. Any contestant in a primary or other election contest who was defeated by less than 1% of the votes cast for the office, and any contestant who received the second highest number of votes cast for that office, if two or more are to be elected and who was defeated by less than 1% of the votes cast, or any person whose position on a question was defeated by less than 1% of the votes cast on the question, shall have the right to a recount of the votes cast for the office or on the question. That is not pointed to us by either of the campaigns. We just thought we'd bring it in there to liven up the chances that something could change even after we've reported it to. California, obviously, the big choice here tonight for California Democrats and Republicans alike, and the Latino vote critical to both. We're joined once again by Maria Teresa Peterson of the group Voto Latino, who was with us earlier in the evening. Thank you again for your time tonight.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you for having me back.
All right, we have the exit polling suggesting that that Hispanics in California on the Democratic side went 65-34 for Hillary Clinton. That number is obviously huge in terms of the overall aspect of how this turned out and why Senator Clinton beat Senator Obama in California. What does that number mean to you in analyzing participation by and preferences of Latino voters?
If anything, I think it tells us that there's no clear determinant of the winner. Hillary has been campaigning in California now for quite a long time among the Latino vote. But if you go to neighboring Arizona, what you find is that the 17% of the Latino vote is reflective of what was won in the general election, excuse me, the general primary earlier today with Arizona. 56% of it went to Hillary and 39% of it went to Obama. So I think it's definitely up for grabs.
So if we've seen in a matter of a couple of weeks the presumed split along racial lines that Barack Obama is not appealing to white voters in the South, and then today's results were 51-43 Clinton over Obama in white voters, suggesting that that thing is gone, that assumption, that demographic breakdown is gone. Is the Hispanic demographic assumption a thing of the past already?
Look, I guess it goes back to what history has taught us. Back when Tom Bradley was the mayor in Los Angeles, he consistently won the Latino vote. Again, what I'd like to say, and what I think that Latinos would be clear and want everybody to understand, is that it's a matter of someone that's touching upon the issues. And again, Hillary has done an amazing job reaching out to the community, but Barack definitely has that opportunity as well. And some food for thought. When individuals say that they want to go ahead and provide more information, they want to pump up the Latino vote, what do? The first thing they do is they buy media ads. And where do they buy them? In Spanish-speaking languages. And unfortunately, 79% of all Latinos actually consume their information in English.
Extraordinary and insightful. Maria Teresa Peterson of Voto Latino, great thanks once again for your time. Chris?
We're joined right now by Bob Herbert of the New York Times. You know, Bob, one of the most affecting political pictures I've ever seen is a working-class family, a white guy and his son, real working-class, regular guy, and his son who's in a T-shirt, a ripped T-shirt, and he's having his son salute as Bob Kennedy's train goes by as he's taken to be buried. And I've always thought of that picture as a statement about the Reagan Democrats and where they were once Democrats and how they once had a loyalty to the working class and to there's some kind of hope in this country for their people. And I look at the faces of people tonight at that rally for Barack Obama, black faces, just excited and thrilled that this guy is making it. And I look at the states that have come in so far tonight. I mean, this is not ordinary America voting pattern. And I just want to ask you your reaction to this. When you see an African-American carrying Connecticut, not just Illinois and Delaware, but Kansas and Missouri and Colorado and Minnesota and North Dakota, I mean, God, Idaho, these are not even diverse populations. These are white populations, caucuses. What's happening?
To me, that's the story. I mean, I know everybody is interested in the horse race. I mean, that's natural. Will this guy get the nomination? Will he get elected president? But to me, the real story is what he's achieved already. He's changed the face of American politics. As we go forward, no matter what happens in this election, everybody is going to be studying this Obama campaign to figure out how we do it the next time around. Yeah. I think, excuse me, one of the things that I think is really important, and I touched on it in a column, is what I'm seeing as the generational divide, so that the older voters are paying much more attention to ethnic issues and racial issues and, you know, where are the blacks going and where are the Latinos going and that sort of thing. When you look at the younger voters, and I've been out here talking to them in California, that doesn't come up. They look at the candidates and they start to decide which one do we like and which one do we want to vote for. Overwhelmingly, it's been Obama. That is a huge shift in American culture. It's a tectonic shift. It goes far beyond just a presidential race or a campaign for the Democratic nomination. And these are powerful forces at work, and these are the forces that are going to determine the face of America as we go ahead in the 21st century. So Obama's achievement has been huge, whether he actually gets the nomination or not.
You know, Bob Woodward said a couple of weeks ago on a program I was on, the great Watergate sleuth, that behind everything in the year 2008, no matter whether it's talked about or not, is Iraq. Now, Bob's not really a political reporter. He's an investigative reporter and a general assignment editor, of course.
Right.
But he believes it's behind everything. And I wonder whether the change phenomenon, the call, the cri de guerre, change, isn't all charged up by this desire to get out of this rut of war.
I'm not sure I agree with that. I think Iraq is a huge part of it. But when you talk about the change, I think you also have to look at the way government has been working or not working over the past several years. I mean, you look at what's been going on in New Orleans. You look at the approval ratings of the president. I mean, they're hideous, but so are the approval ratings for Congress.
Right.
I think younger people and some older people as well are tired of the partisan divide and the bickering and the inability to get something done. So I think that they want to change, and it includes Iraq, but I think that it's broader than Iraq. But to get to your point on Iraq, there's two things that I think are important. One is that Iraq, the war, and all the money we spend on the war stands in the way of making progress on a lot of the important issues at home. That's one issue. Another issue is that across the board, I see people really worried about the image of America abroad. And obviously, Iraq has such a tremendous amount to do with that. And so in that sense, yes, when they start talking about change, Iraq is a key component of it.
Did you see the numbers tonight in our poll? Two things came out of the exit poll that obviously helped Barack. I mean, a number of them, I think, helped Senator Clinton, too. It was a split tonight. Let's get it straight. But the two that helped, certainly the economy, I think, helps her a great deal. But the two questions that I think helped Barack were the one, people really want change. Tim Russert was reporting that earlier tonight, about 2-to-1 or more. People chose change over experience. The other one was an almost, I hate to use the phrase, but kumbaya. It was a hopeful goal of uniting the country. No more we're going to take the fight to the bad Republicans, but more like we're going to put this thing together. We're going to get past this. And I guess that helped Barack, too. I think it did. I'm not sure.
I think that's crucial. So when I've been talking to these young people out here in California, they don't talk about the differences between the health care programs put forth by Hillary or by Barack. They don't talk about the differences in or how quickly one or the other will end or bring troops home from Iraq. They talk about whether we can begin to heal some of the divisions in this society, and they talk big time about this idea of hope. Now, you know, the smart set talks about that being nebulous. You know, you really have to be, you have to play hardball, to use your term. Right. You have to focus on the issues. But hope is a big deal. Optimism and hope is what drives this country. What makes the United States special has always been that American dream, and that dream is based on hope and optimism, and Barack pushes that.
Well, I wondered, Bob, whether the United States and the people voting today in half the country would mount the galloping horse of history. I guess it's fair to say they've got one foot in the stirrups. We'll see. Anyway, thank you very much, Bob Herbert. Up next, more from our panel. Plus, Newsweek's Richard Wolff is coming along. You're watching MSNBC's live coverage. It's still live tonight of Super Duper Tuesday.
And today, on this Tuesday in February, in states north and south, east and west, what began as a whisper in Springfield has swelled to a chorus of millions calling for change. It's a chorus that cannot be ignored, a chorus that cannot be deterred. This time can be different because this campaign for the presidency of the United States of America is different.
Senator Obama, speaking to his constituency tonight in Chicago, adding in a most memorable line, "We are the ones we've been waiting for."
I love that line.
By the way, when
am I allowed to love a line no matter who speaks it? I just thought that's one of the great lines I've ever heard.
I love that line, too.
Yeah.
We both love that line.
Okay, we're together.
I think Senator Obama probably loved that line. We may hear it again.
If Keith's with it, I'm all right.
When you talked to Schuster, did you ask him if he would get Obama to come on Countdown for me? No, okay.
I'm selfish.
Let's...
By the way, I am in the crosshairs of the District of Columbia, Virginia, and Maryland. He has to cross through the very studio in which I work, Channel 4. He has to come downstairs. Can he come to the 3rd floor and do hardball? That's all I'm asking. Get on the elevator. That's all I'm asking of the guy.
He's Chris Matthews, and he approved that message. All right. Let's go back over to our panel. Nora O'Donnell will try to restore something that we've just lost.
I thought you guys were going to say we love the panel. We haven't heard any love from you guys tonight.
You are the ones we've been waiting for.
What a transition. What a charmer.
Follow that.
I'll follow that. I will. And we were talking about, what a historic day today is. Super Tuesday, the closest thing we have ever had to a national primary. Some people were looking at tonight whether there would be a turning point, and it's almost 2 o'clock in the morning, and we're still here.
It hasn't turned yet.
And it hasn't turned yet.
At least on the Democratic side.
It's the biggest primary there's ever been in American history.
Yeah.
I'm dying to see the turnout numbers tomorrow when we start to get those from states. We saw such historic turnout levels on the Democratic side in so many of the early races. If that continued across the country, and I can't imagine that pace continued, but even if it continued a little bit, it's going to be just a tremendous number in terms of civic participation.
Pat, but what about the mood of the country? I mean, we have now an open seat for the first time in more than half a century, which is there's no incumbent president or vice president seeking their party's nomination. But we have a Democratic race that might go to the convention. We've got a Republican race that's still ongoing, even though Mitt Romney is having frank discussions tomorrow. Right. What is it about the mood of this country that is propelling us to this point?
I think 70% of the American people think we're on the wrong course. They see economic insecurity. They see us bogged down in 2 endless wars. They see a government that can't even control the borders of the United States. A lot of them culturally say this isn't the nation I grew up in. And I think there's this desire, and it's captured in the word change, this desire, is there some way government or what we do politically can change all that? And enormous hopes are being invested, frankly, inside the Democratic Party more than the Republican Party. And my own fear, of course, I'm sort of a pessimist, but this is, you see really hope being invested in this, like you did, I think, in a different way. Ike was very much liked, but a tremendous amount of hope was invested in JFK with new frontiers, and, we're going to do all these brave things. We're going to take up the challenge of the Soviet Union. I think you see that same kind of feeling inside the Democratic Party.
But, the JFK, that process, that upwelling of hope started a lot of processes that led to the 1960s, the Civil Rights Act and all the things. Some happened, of course, after JFK. Right. But I think, the first sense that feeling was coming to dominate.
We knew what the cause was then, and the cause was, here's the young leader that's going to take up the challenge of the Soviet Empire and, move us on, and Ike was great, but that generation is gone. What is the cause now? It's just change is all I hear.
I think what's happening now is that, if you poll the American public on policy issues without calling them liberal or conservative, Democratic or Republican, the American people do line up a lot more with Democratic identified causes right now. But Democrats themselves are also very frustrated that we've had a Congress that hasn't really stopped the Bush administration from doing the things that Americans are most angry at them about. They haven't made big changes on the war or the Constitution. I think that's why it's hope and it's change, these two amorphous ideas, because Americans know what they want done. They just want to believe that if they elect somebody different, there will be something done.
Then why isn't it, and the exit polling has shown once again the change is overwhelmingly the top issue of experience, then why isn't Obama winning this outright?
Well, he's doing pretty well.
Yeah, he's come from nowhere. He's neck and neck right now.
He's doing pretty well. Yeah. And, I think one way to interpret the whole change thing is a sense that government can do things for people rather than be an impediment to things that people really need. Health care, government's all gummed up on the war.
Katrina,
we told them to end it, they didn't end it.
Who believes in government after Katrina?
After Katrina, people feel like, I want a government that is competent, that can actually do something.
I want my government at least to be able to fix the Gulf Coast after a hurricane.
I'm not going to build my own personal levee. If we're going to build levees, I want them to work. The government builds levees. I therefore want a competent government. Exactly. People don't want Bush government. They want a competent government.
But look, government failed at every single level. And now they get the great ideas we're going to get out of Iraq. What do they think is going to happen when we turn around and walk out of Iraq? They think it's all going to be beautiful over there? Look what happened when we walked out of Vietnam. And look what the 60s, all the change produced. You did have your Civil Rights Act, you had riots, you had inflation, you had war, endless war, until they threw all the Democrats out.
But Pat,
well,
you
that's
have
one way of remembering it, Pat. Another way of remembering
the 60s
is that more than half
gave us the conservative era.
Yeah, but
because of the failures of the 60s.
Minorities and women got a place in the society. That was something that happened.
The 60s also gave you the rest of this panel, Pat. Right. I mean, the 60s also gave you the rest of this panel, who wouldn't have been here without the changes brought about by the social movement. That was the 1960s.
Nixon, I would not have been here. You're exactly right.
On that note, it's a good one to end on. Thanks very much to our wonderful panel. And Chris and Keith, I'm going to send it back to you guys.
And thank you to Nora O'Donnell and to Pat Buchanan and Rachel Maddow and Eugene Robinson, who played so nice up until the end there. We'll see on the next super whatever fill-in-the-blank day, because they're all going to be super for several weeks at least to come, if not months. Up next, Chuck Todd, who has come up with the Todd number tonight, that this whole thing was worth a net gain perhaps of 4 delegates. We'll look ahead to the next round of contests. We're starting to preview things already. And we'll also now here, as we'll leave you with this segment here before the break, here are the numbers from New Mexico, where it is too early to call and a 48-48 percentile split. We're calling it dead even. It is too early to call in New Mexico, the last Democratic outstanding race of the night. You're watching MSNBC's continuing coverage of Super Tuesday. More after this.
Sunday.
Bye-bye, yuckiness. So long, ooziness. I thought I was gonna cry.
Denture paste can feel oozy. Yuck. But C-Bond adhesive wafers hold clean.
Hello, happiness. Give C-Bond a try.
Bye-bye, ooze. Hello, C-Bond.
Movie fans, listen up. If you love movies and everything about them, there's a new channel for you. Reels Channel, the one place for everything you want to know. From what's next,
the movie trailers are the main event,
to what's out.
If you love movies, this is the weekend for you.
To what you might have missed.
This movie flew under the radar, but it's really worth your time.
Wherever you watch movies, Reels Channel and ReelsChannel.com.
Everything about movies
24/7.
Watch Reels Channel on DirecTV, Channel 238.
It's a night of insurmountable odds. Team 3D looks to destroy the X Division once and for all. ODB faces the brutal Awesome Kong for the TNA Women's Knockout Championship. Robert Roode crossed the line. Now Booker T seeks justice against the man who hospitalized his wife. And ultimate supremacy is on the line as Christian Cage faces Kurt Angle for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. TNA Wrestling presents Against All Odds, live February 10th on DirecTV pay-per-view.
The day after Super Tuesday, the voters made their voices heard. What their choices mean as the road to the White House gets one step closer. Tomorrow and today on NBC.
So those are the sort of important events of Super Tuesday. Now to the real important story. This phrase that Chris Matthews and I both loved from Barack Obama's speech tonight. We are the change that we've been waiting for. It got applause in Chicago. It got applause here. It's not his line. Well, Maria Shriver said it on Sunday. It's Maria Shriver's line. It turns out that she said it at the event at Pauley Pavilion at UCLA on Sunday.
But he said something a little different. He said, we're the ones we've been waiting for. It was a little different. It worked in context, I think. I thought it worked because I looked at the audience and I thought he was saying to them, you know, everybody waits for deliverance, and what if it's you that has to deliver? And it's sort of obviously self-aggrandizing to some extent. But you know what?
We are the ones we've been waiting for was Obama. We are the change that we've been waiting for was Maria Shriver on Sunday. All right. In any event, Howard Fineman is in Washington.
Similar thoughts.
As we look ahead to super delegates, as if we had not have enough problems assessing delegates tonight. What's the super delegate picture, Howard?
Well, the superdelegate picture becomes crucial. These are the ones, members of Congress, governors, elected officials of all kinds, whom the Democrats have really now entrusted the nomination to in a way. There's almost 800 of them. There are 275 of them in the Congress. And what's happening now is, now that all these events have happened in the states tonight, members of Congress and others who are holding back on whom to support now may come out based on the results in their states. For example, Senator Barbara Boxer in California, unlike Dianne Feinstein, said, you know what, I'm not going to say anything until after the results are in from California. Well, now the results are in from California. Hillary did one pretty big, but Barbara Boxer, I'm told, is not about to go rushing to the barricades for Hillary Clinton. She's still going to hang back. She may say, well, maybe I'll vote for Hillary, maybe I won't. Maybe I probably will, but I'm not going to be out there campaigning for all around the country. And what's going to happen now is that the Congress itself is going to become a campaign place, not only because the superdelegates are there, but because of this fascinating piece of history. Never before in American history have we had two members of Congress running against each other for the presidency. And that's very likely to happen now. I'm not saying McCain's got it locked, but we could well have that. And what that means is we'll have something approaching a parliamentary democracy in this country, a parliamentary campaign between now and November. Because if it's Barack or if it's Hillary and if it's McCain, they're going to have to produce in the Senate. They're going to have to get things done from the floor of the Senate. It's going to be unprecedented and I think very interesting.
Yeah, but of course a true parliamentary race would be limited to what, about 3 months max. So
well,
it
that's true.
Doesn't really qualify, unfortunately.
Yes, in Britain they stand for election. Here we run. There's a big difference.
And marathon upon marathon.
What happens if President Bush has the wit to pull a Harry Truman and ask the Democratic-controlled Senate and Democratic-controlled House of Representatives to do what it promises to do in the next election? In other words, meet your campaign goals right now. Here's your chance.
Exactly. I think that could well happen, Chris. That's what I'm talking about. Because if it is McCain, he's going to go with Bush and say, let's force the Democrats, since they're in the majority, to get the stuff done. Let's force Obama to get his agenda through right now, or Hillary's.
Howard Feynman, thanks, and thanks for all the good work tonight. And before we step out, we have a quick update from NBC News political director Chuck Todd, who looks ahead to the next round of contests, having already ascertained this one was Obama 841, Clinton 837, plus or minus 10. Chuck.
Well, I gave you the plus or minus 10,
you did.
And by the way, the Obama folks took me up on it as far as going to 6. They think they might get as much as 847. But regardless, so where does that leave us? Well, first I want to talk about superdelegates. Superdelegates tonight, we've got Clinton with 259 superdelegates. And we've got Obama claiming 170. And these are folks, they have shared the names. So that's an 89-vote advantage on the delegate front. If Obama gets what they think they're going to get out of tonight, about a 35 delegate advantage total, all the delegates from the beginning of the Iowa caucuses till now, then you're looking at a 58. Clinton will have a 58 delegate lead after all is said and done, assuming our estimates are right, plus or minus 2 or 3 delegates. So what happens next? Well, then you got a bunch of caucuses on February 9th. You've got Nebraska, you've got Washington State, you've got Louisiana. Well, what did we learn tonight about caucuses? Senator Obama dominates them. And he can win a lot of delegates and potentially make up, once again, let me put up this number, 59. He's got to make up those deals. He could make that up quickly, throw in February 12th, the Chesapeake primary, and he could potentially be even on delegates in a week.
Wow.
And so our headline gets rewritten again for us by Chuck Todd, who has calculators in his fingers. Thank you, Chuck.
You got it.
Well, so then the headline, obviously, we know the Republican headline. This was McCain's night and largely Huckabee's. On the second level, with Romney not completely out of it, but being sort of pushed to the fringe. But the headline has to be Obama-Clinton tied tonight.
Yes.
With an Obama sort of with the asterisk that they show on the
highly
charts.
decisive Super Tuesday event has not been highly decisive.
It got somebody
That's
about,
the bottom line.
Four delegates ahead of the other one.
By the way, isn't it great to be on a team with Chuck Todd?
It is indeed.
Who else has the numbers like that guy?
Chris Jansing picks up our coverage after the break. For Chris Matthews, I'm Keith Olbermann. We'll see you on the next Super Day of the week. Thank you. Good night.
My name is Sandra, and I got on eHarmony, and I met and married the most wonderful man of my life, Scott. I told my sister Tracy to give eHarmony a try. She met and married Todd when Todd's mother Eunice saw how great of a match we were.
And she was ready to get a dog, and so I just asked her, I said,
Mom, wouldn't you rather have a man than a dog? So he puts me on eHarmony.